Hey-o, good morning for you in the United States. It is 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central, and I have no idea. You have 4 time zones in the United States, don't you? Something like that. Either way, good morning. It is finally day 1 of the Best Friends murder retrial. Yesterday, where we saw day 1 of the first trial, so we could have something to compare with now when the retrial starts. Will the prosecution have made some changes? Have the defense made some changes? And so it will be really, really interesting to see how things develops. Because I did not see the first trial back in April that ended in a hung jury, straight down the middle, and a mistrial, hung jury. I just saw here, it is 6 a.m. MST. I don't know. You have weird times. I mean, 6 a.m. It's 6 in the morning. Okay. Either way, he was charged with 8 counts. Counts 1 to 5, the serious ones, hung jury. Count 6 to 8, he was convicted. But I was checking some Mountain Standard Time. Thank you. Which mountain? No, never mind. Where was I? Yeah. And since they found him guilty of the 3 lesser removing gun, stealing car, and something. But since all 8 counts were in the indictment, they are retrialing all of them. Mountain Standard Time is 1 zone east of Pacific. Okay. So it's 5 a.m. Pacific, and it's 9 a.m. Eastern. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 hours in between West Coast, East Coast then. Okay, thank you. And who are here? I saw Brandon earlier, Feral Housewife, She's a Wisnut, Robil, Atheist, and it's me, Josie. And the best chat name on YouTube. It's genitals. Hey, Salvador. Hey, you are here as well. And so as of now, we are waiting for the Law and C Word stream to come online. But I'm also checking for one of their reporters to start tweeting that they have started. And I personally is waiting for a guest to show up. I talked to him on Twitter just like half an hour ago. Yes, because Mo isn't here today. She has she chose well, she didn't choose. She had prior commitments, so she couldn't be on my channel. But no worries, because David will join us during this morning session. Also, it's Tuesday, which means it's also Jodi Day. It's the day of one of the day of the week that me and David are covering the trial of Jodi Arias from 2013. And we stop everything that we are doing, and then we do an hour and a half of Jodi Arias. And we have reached day 13 of the trial of Jodi Arias, which means this is the day when Jodi Arias takes the stand. But we don't know when during the day. Oh, let's see here.
Does either side wish to invoke the rule of sequestration at the appropriate time?
Yes, James, I've invoked it now.
Sequestration is
Mr. Lewis
about
for
the
state.
jury.
Yes, Your Honor, state we invoked it.
All right, I don't know who the witnesses are, so each side will need to be mindful of persons entering the courtroom.
Okay, so the trial has actually started, finally. It is the same judge, same prosecution, same defense. It's Uncle Phil and the butler. Uncle Phil for the prosecution and the butler for the defense. I will see if they have... Yes, they have closed caption, and I have it on. And hi, David.
Hello. So we're finally starting this trial?
Yeah. The first thing I heard was about sequestering the jury.
Oh, that sucks for the jury. Oh my God. They're going to sequester him during the trial?
Please check your phones. If you're not an officer of the court, your phone needs to be completely on silent for me. I'm sorry, completely powered off.
Modern looking courtroom. Yeah.
I don't like modern looking courtrooms. I prefer the old style, all the pomp and circumstance.
Mm.
So it took them a while. They were supposed to go yesterday, right? But it took them a while to select the jury.
And the camera person, tell me your name, please.
Paul.
All right, Paul. You
I'm
understand
doing
you
okay.
cannot
Thank you, Evolve
film
Recovery.
any jurors. All right.
And for you in the chat, if you have social media, if you wouldn't mind to share this stream on Twitter/X and whatever social media you have, that would be much appreciated.
It's not Twitter anymore.
Yeah, it's X. What are you
Which
doing
I
today?
prefer.
I'm writing on my X.
Good morning, Shizzy. See you in the chat.
Hey, Chizzy. Hi.
And Josie. Good morning, everybody.
Yeah.
Hi,
And
Atheist Ant.
Let's Go Brandon was on a bit earlier in the chat, and I was apparently 2 shots short yesterday but there won't be any shots during the morning session. I will save those for afternoon session.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, right?
But it's only 3 o'clock here. And I just explained to the people here that it's Jody Day.
It is
So,
Jody Day. That's right.
Yeah. So at noon, we close down and refer you over to, I'll get the volume down there. At noon, Eastern time, we go over and stream day 13 of the Jody Harris trial. And we do that for an hour and a half, and then we will return here to this trial for the afternoon session.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah. And I don't know when on day 13 Jody takes the stand, but we will see. And if you don't know about the Jody Harris trial, that is the trial where Jody, the entirety of Jody was entered into evidence.
Yes, all of Jody.
Banana show? I no.
Banana show. I'm eating a banana.
Oh.
Yeah. In honor of Lizzo.
Yeah, I went down to buy a few beers for the afternoon session, and they had an offer: buy 4 of these, and you will get a glass. So of course I did, and it is a modified champagne glass of sorts, 30 centiliters. I don't know what's that. 2 cups, 1.5 cup. So not much beer in this glass.
My wife and I did a series of winter runs. It was 3 5Ks, and you had to run through the snow and ice up north. And but after each race, you ended at a bar, and you got a free beer, and you got to take the glass home. So we're like, all right, sure, let's do that. So I have like these series of 3 beer mugs.
Nice. Jody, that's day 6, part 2 of, and you can find the find that in as a separate playlist on either mine or David's channel. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, this mug is in my merch store. And what do I mean with you can't unf a cluster F? Well, that's the relationship, trials, work.
All right, good morning,
If it
members
is
of
a
the
cluster
jury.
F,
Welcome back. I hope
you really can't unf.
everyone was able to get home safely with all the storms last night, and that you had a restful evening. Before we begin the trial today, there are 2 additional oaths that I need to administer. You can remain seated and raise your right hand for me, please.
Anyone else have issues?
All right, you shall well and truly try each case submitted to you during the present term, and a true verdict give according to the law as given you in charge, and the opinion you entertain of the evidence produced to you, to the best of your skill and knowledge, without favor or affection to either party, provided you are not discharged from the consideration of the case. You shall also well and truly try the issue formed upon the bill of indictment between the state of Georgia and Austin Tybee Ford, who is charged with felony murder, aggravated assault, voluntary manslaughter, and 2 counts of possession of firearm during commission of a felony, and a true verdict give according to the evidence. If you will, say I will. Thank you. Please lower your hands.
That sounded like a lot of guys on the jury.
All right, members of the jury, I'm going to give you some preliminary instructions to sort of give you an overview of how the trial procedure will
jury
progress during the
instructions
week,
came in at the
and
exciting
then we
time.
will begin with the trial.
I came in at the exciting time. Jury instructions.
Members of the jury, you have been sworn and impaneled, and you are about to try a criminal case entitled The State of Georgia versus Austin Tyree Ford. The defendant, Austin Tyree Ford, has been indicted by the grand jury of Gwinnett County in an indictment that has previously been read to you. To this indictment, the defendant has pled not guilty and denies each and every allegation contained therein. The indictment is what forms the issue that you have been selected, sworn, and impaneled to try. Before we begin the trial, I will give you some preliminary instructions on fundamental principles of criminal law. I will also instruct you on the role of the judge, the jury, and the lawyers, and give you an overview of the trial procedure. Many of you may have never served on a jury before. It is therefore necessary that these instructions be given so that you have a general understanding of procedure in a criminal trial, what will be expected of you, and how you are to conduct yourself during the trial. The defendant is charged in the indictment with crimes that are violations of certain laws of the state of Georgia. I want to emphasize to you that the indictment, including all of the counts therein, and the plea of not guilty are merely the legal procedures by which these criminal charges are brought against the defendant. The charges and the plea of not guilty are not evidence of guilt, and you should not consider them as evidence or implication of guilt of any crime whatsoever. This defendant is presumed to be innocent until proven guilty.
Unless proven guilty.
He enters upon the trial of the case with a presumption of innocence in his favor, and the presumption remains with him until it is overcome by the state with evidence that is sufficient to convince you beyond a reasonable doubt that he is guilty. No person shall be convicted of any crime unless and until each element of the crime is proven beyond a reasonable doubt. The burden of proof rests upon the state to prove every material allegation of the indictment and every essential element of the crimes charged beyond a reasonable doubt. However, the state is not required to prove the guilt of the accused beyond all doubt or to a mathematical certainty. Reasonable doubt is just what it says. It is a doubt of a fair-minded, impartial juror honestly seeking the truth. It is a doubt based upon common sense and reason. It does not mean a vague or arbitrary doubt, but it is a doubt for which a reason can be given, arising from a consideration of the evidence, a lack of evidence, a conflict in the evidence, or any combination of these. There is no burden of proof upon the defendant whatsoever, and the burden never shifts to the defendant to prove his innocence. If, after you consider the facts and circumstances of the case, if your minds are wavering, unsettled, or unsatisfied, then that is a doubt of the law, and you must acquit this defendant. But if no doubt exists in your minds about the guilt of the defendant, then you would be authorized to convict him. If the state fails to prove his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, it would be your duty to acquit him. Under our system, it is my duty as the trial judge to determine the law that applies to this case and to instruct you on the specific rules of law that you must apply to the facts to arrive at your verdict. I am giving you some
Vermillion, she's got that sound,
now,
doesn't she?
and we'll give you more detailed instructions.
She's almost
once
gonna
the
cry.
evidence has been presented and the lawyers have made their closing arguments. During the trial, I may be called upon to rule on motions or objections to evidence. Nothing that I say as the judge in making these rulings or at any time during the trial should be considered evidence and should not be considered as me having any inclination or leaning whatsoever in the case. My only interest in this case is to see that it is fairly tried according to the laws and Constitution of the state of Georgia and of the United States. Trial procedure in a criminal jury trial is generally as follows. The attorneys for both sides can make what is called an opening statement. This opening statement is not evidence. Remember that what the lawyers say during the trial is not evidence. It is merely a preview or an outline of what they expect the evidence to be. After opening statements, the evidence will be presented. Evidence comes in the form of testimony given by witnesses or physical evidence that will be labeled for identification. After the presentation of all of the evidence, the attorneys can make what is called a closing argument. It is at this time that the attorneys may suggest to you which laws are applicable to the case and how you should consider them in light of the evidence. And they may point out to you certain parts of the evidence that they think are favorable to their position. The goal of a closing argument is to persuade you to decide the case in their favor. After closing arguments, I will charge you more specifically on the law that applies to this case and will instruct you to retire to the jury room to deliberate and reach your verdict. You have an important role as jurors. It is your responsibility to determine the facts of the case and to apply those facts to the law that I give you. I will instruct you on the law,
Hey, Judy, welcome.
but you must listen to the evidence to determine the facts as you find them to be. The object of this trial is to discover the truth. During the trial, the admission of evidence will be governed by certain rules of evidence, and those rules were drafted with one purpose in mind: the discovery of truth. Consequently, the rules of evidence seek to ensure that only the best and highest evidence is admitted for your consideration.
That is
You
actually
also,
what
as
in
the
the
jury,
Zechariah
must
Anderson part.
determine the credibility and believability of any witnesses that you hear from. It is for you to determine which witness or witnesses you will believe and which witness or witnesses you will not believe, if there are some whom you do not believe. In determining the credibility
All of her instructions are lost in
or
her
believability of
tone.
witnesses,
Yeah.
you may consider the facts and circumstances of the case, the manner in which witnesses testify, the witness's interest or lack of interest in the outcome of the case, their means and opportunity for knowing the facts about which they testify, the nature of the facts about which they testify, the probability or improbability of their testimony, and the occurrences about which they testify. You may also consider their personal credibility insofar as it may appear to you during the trial of the case. It is important that you pay close attention to the evidence as it is being presented during the trial.
Oh,
If at any time you are unable to hear or see the evidence that
great,
is
so it's
being
not
presented,
purple. Good.
or if you are suffering from any discomfort that diverts your attention, please feel free to inform me or one of the bailiffs,
Oh, ghost
and I will do
lawyer
whatever
in
is
this file as
necessary
well.
to ensure that you are able to hear and see the evidence that is being presented. If you need a recess at any time, please raise your hand and I will recognize you. It is vitally important that you are as comfortable as possible during the trial so that you can focus on the evidence when it is being presented. It is also important that you view the evidence with an open mind and that you reach no final conclusions until the trial is over. Do not jump to conclusions before all of the evidence has been presented. Also, remember that during the trial, it would be improper for you to discuss the case with anyone or to allow anyone to discuss the case with you or within your presence or hearing. This applies even to discussions amongst yourselves as jurors. During breaks, during the lunch recess, you can't even discuss the case amongst yourselves until you begin deliberations. Mr. Wooten, I'll ask you to hand out the notepads and pens, please. I'm asking the bailiff to provide you with notepads and pens. When you receive your notepad, if you will write your
Can they
name
ask
on
questions?
the first page,
What?
and if you wish
Can
to
they ask
use
questions?
it for note-taking, begin any
In
note-taking on
Georgia,
the
I
second
don't
page.
know.
If you decide to take notes, please remember that your note-taking should not divert you from paying full attention to the evidence and assessing witness credibility. Your observations of witnesses while they are on the witness stand can be vital to your determination of their believability of the testimony. The notes that you take are for your use only, and they are not to be shared with anyone until you begin your deliberations. Remember that notes are not evidence, they are only memory aids, and they should not take precedence over your recollection of what the evidence was. It is the duty of each juror to recall the evidence, and while you may consider another juror's notes to refresh your memory, you must rely on your own recollection of the proceedings. Do not be influenced by the notes of another juror unless those notes help you in determining your own independent recollection. Notes are not entitled to any greater weight than the recollection or impression of each juror as to what the evidence may have
It's
been.
up to the judge in
After
Georgia,
this trial is
and I
over,
can only
your notes
find
will be collected and
an
destroyed.
article from 2017 that
I instruct
a
each of you
Fulton
that
County
you must
Superior Court
decide this
judge
case for yourself,
allows it, but
and you must
almost
do so
unheard of.
solely on the testimony that you hear from the witness stand and any evidence that is admitted into evidence.
I got to keep an eye on the female defense
I
counsel.
remind you that
Yep,
you cannot visit any scenes that you hear about.
Sal is
You
already
may not
driving
use
there.
any books or documents
And
that
just
are not admitted into evidence. You may not read or listen to any accounts of the trial that might
Hey,
appear in the
Brandon.
news media.
Yeah,
You
the
may not
missing
discuss
shots
the
from
case with
yesterday I
anyone
will
other
take
than your
on
fellow
afternoon
jurors
session.
and only during deliberations. At this time, that is going to conclude the court's general instructions. And I will turn now to the attorneys for opening statements. Is there an opening statement on behalf of the state of Georgia?
Yes, Your Honor.
This will be interesting to see if it is the exact same opening as the first trial.
I'm hoping the defenses. That was good. I like the defenses opening.
Tori Lachey Lang was the 18-year-old daughter of Theresa and Tori Lang, originally from New Orleans, Louisiana. She was a recent graduate of Stevenson High, and by all accounts, a bright, effervescent, beautiful young woman. I did not have the pleasure of knowing her, and her mother and her grandmother are far better equipped than I to tell you about Tori when she was alive. The last time Tori was seen in their neighborhood, leaving the area in which they lived, was about 10:30 on July 27th of 2021. She was seen on a neighbor's ring cam video leaving the area
It's
in her
almost
car.
word to word the same.
As far as Theresa and Tori knew, she just did not come back. There was
Why am I the shot dodger?
just a sheer coincidence. Theresa was
I don't
changing
know.
the family cell phone account. So she had Tori's cell phone in order to port the number over from one carrier to another. So they couldn't call Tori. The following morning, Tori still didn't come home. So they reached out to her friends, or the people at least she thought were her friends. One of the people who Theresa reached out to was the defendant, Austin Ford. Austin told Theresa he hadn't seen Tori, didn't know where Tori was. But vowed that he'd look for her, and that if he heard anything, he'd let her know. He never let her know. Simultaneously, at about 6:33 in the morning, July 28th, Theodore Young and his wife were taking their morning walk in Yellow River Park. Mr. Young is an older gentleman, will go through the park and pick up cans, goes walking early in the morning. And it was August, so it's probably going to be really, really hot. I'm sorry, July. Still. He sees what appears to be a person lying under a tree. He gets closer, and what he finds is the body of a young woman who has been shot one time in the head. Mr. Young called to her to see if she was still alive, noticed that she was not. Police. Officers with the Gwinnett County Police Department, specifically Officer Casey Smith and Officer Remy, responded to the scene. They're both uniformed patrol officers. Officer Smith was training Officer Remy. And they did what patrol officers are supposed to do. They assessed the scene, determined that there was more things that they could handle, noted what they could note, and waited for detectives who would do a more thorough investigation of who this young woman might be and what might have happened to her. They did, the patrol officers, Officer Remy and Officer Rachel Lasky, did locate 2 shell casings. They didn't do anything with the shell casings. What they did was just mark them first with a piece of paper, so that they would not be disturbed, so other officers would know not to step on them, kick them, or otherwise disturb what could be crucial evidence in whatever happened to this young woman who was found here dead. They then turned the scene over to detectives. The initial responding detective was then Corporal David Smith. Now, what happens after the evidence is marked and what's there is roped off by the patrol officers? Crime scene investigation and the medical examiner are called. The crime scene investigation, or CSI, with Gwinnett County will take measurements of the scene. They will collect the shell casings, photographs, videos to document the scene so that detectives will have all the information that is available in order to solve what is now apparently a case. The only physical evidence that CSI was able to locate was the 2 shell casings. They did not find any vehicle that appeared to be hers. They went so far as to have a police academy class basically canvass the entire area. They lined up side by side, walked the entirety of the park, because as you'll see, it's ultimately a very large area. But they didn't find anything. All we've got from the scene is 2 shell casings. I'll talk to you a little bit about the shell casings later.
Tool mark evidence.
They then turned the investigation.
Now, if the shell
over to
casings
the
were
examiners.
at the exact same spot, yes, that
I'm
can
sorry, over to the
indicate
medical
things.
examiner. Medical examiner's office came and
They believe it was Mom's gun, but they can only prove that that gun
is
disappeared
to
and no
examine
gun was found.
the remains of the young lady and to make a determination.
They never found the gun?
Of cause and
Nope.
manner of death. That is done through collecting observations at the scene and an autopsy. The autopsy was performed by Dr. Terry. I don't think I need to explain exactly what an autopsy is, but that took place on July 28th of 2021 and into July 29th of 2021. Now, mind you, at this time, as far as the police, the medical examiner go, this is an unknown young woman. She didn't have any ID. There was, at this time, no way to tell just who she was. She didn't have photos, she didn't have tattoos, and so officers were able to take pictures of her tattoos in hopes to identify her. The medical examiner, Dr. Terry, did make certain observations relating to and did make a ruling on it.
I agree, Shot
What
Dodger.
Dr. Terry will testify to is that she was killed by a single gunshot to the head that occurred from 10 to 12 inches away. Now, she can tell that by the manner in which the bullet entered Tori's head and by other physical traces that were left by the shot itself.
I only saw first day yesterday of the previous trial. I don't know what he admitted to or not.
To a point, how far away a gun is fired. By if it was very close up, there would be stippling burning. If it's further, there are powder burns. And if it's even further out, there are none of those things present, and so the range would be undetermined. But in this case, Dr. Terry was able to determine that it was between 10 to 12 inches away from Tori's head. She determined that Tori was lying in the place that she was found when she was shot. Which ultimately does mean that the location of the gun at the time it was fired can be extrapolated.
Yes,
So,
murder
because
one
of
or voluntary
what was
manslaughter.
there, what was not there,
I was talking
Dr.
and
Terry
muted.
was not able to make a determination about the manner of death. So the manner of death in this case is undetermined. But keep in
Wait, the
mind,
prosecutor just said the manner is
this
undetermined?
This ruling, this report, and this determination were made on about the manner of death. Though, because of what was there, what was not there, Dr. Terry was not able to make a determination about the manner of death. So the manner of death in this case is undetermined.
Can't say if it's
keep in mind,
suicide or homicide.
This ruling, this report, and this determination were made on the 29th of July.
Think about that. Our own experts can't tell, but we want you, jury, to make a decision.
Members of Tori's family are able to identify her tattoos by a photograph that have been put out into...
Taking the gun from the scene, yes, but nothing about taking the gun to the scene.
Corporal Smith goes to speak with the Lang family and notify them that their daughter has in fact been located and what has happened to her. They also learn that Theresa's Sig Sauer P365 is no longer in her home. Armed now only with this, the investigation continues on. They continue to speak to Tori's friends they continue to
Yeah,
gather
that he
information.
admitted to.
Due to promotion and just the natural shuffling of the police department. Corporal Smith was promoted, and a different detective was assigned to the case, a detective Angela Clark. She continues the investigation from where Corporal Smith.
What year did this take place?
Now, one thing Corporal Smith did find before he turned the case over to Detective Carter was that where Austin Ford lived, his neighbor had a ring camera.
What did he say?
The ring camera captured Tori coming over to Austin's house around 10:40 on July 27th. It later captures them leaving together
Okay,
shortly thereafter.
good to know.
As you can see,
That also means that
Tori
the defense
appears to
is
be
ready
wearing
for it
the
this time.
clothes in which she's found when she is leaving with the defense. The ring camera later catches the defendant coming home, maybe about 1:40 in the morning, wearing something different. Detective Carter speaks to the defendant by phone, and he continues to, I'll just say it, lie. He does not admit that he was with Tori that night. He doesn't admit that he was at Yellow Park. He does not admit that he knew what happened to Tori. Mind you, this was a friend of hers, supposedly. This was supposed to be a friend. This is a young man who her mother knew her to associate with. A man who, when she was looking for Tori and worried, she thought that this supposed friend would know where she was, would be helpful in finding her, and maybe alleviate her fears that something terrible had happened to her daughter. That's not what he did. He just said, I don't know where she is, and pretended to look for her. But he knew where she was. He went to her funeral. Hugged her mother. Knowing all the while exactly what happened. I'll explain. He did mysteriously skip the vigil that the family held shortly after Tori's murder at the location of her death. The defendant, though notified, though supposedly a friend, he didn't go to that. But Detective Carter's investigation also involved getting the defendant's cell records and his geolocation through Google. One thing a lot of people don't know about Google is Google tells them. Google tells them if you have a Google app on your phone, it is reporting to Google what your location is. Now, the purpose of this is Google's, and it has to do with advertising and making sure that you get relevant ads because businesses pay money to have their ads put in front of you. And if I am standing at 75 Langley Drive, a business somewhere near 75 Langley Drive might want to show me an ad so that while I'm here, I can patronize their business. So using a search warrant, we were able to get those records along with his phone records. They show a couple of things. What they show is Austin Ford's phone bouncing off of cell towers near Yellow River Park around the time he left his apartment with Tori on the ring camera. Then it stops. There's no more pinging, no more nothing. Which would indicate that the phone is no longer sending a signal out. Well, how would a phone not send a signal out? Because you turned it off. The phone then reappears after 1 in the morning, moving at a rate that is faster than one could walk. What is that? Well, that means that he wasn't walking, he was probably in a car.
This is the same defense counsel,
It's
right?
simply a matter
Yep.
of if you're at, because it doesn't, follow you like a little video where you see the dot moving on the map like they do in the TV. That's key. It shows locations and times. And you can calculate the speed it takes.
Still almost word by word the exact same opening. So this will be,
Detective Carter was able
I would imagine he will do exactly the same as last time and hoping for the jury to reach a different conclusion.
Detective Carter, now armed with this information about his phone records, about his geolocation.
It was split down the middle, according to what I have seen. 6-6
His supposed best friend, his
for counts 1 to 5.
alleged friend, who is lying dead in Yellow River Park, who has told his mother, her mother, I'm gonna help you look for her, I'm gonna help find her. But he doesn't call her, not one time. Not because he knew about recording of the cell phone number and where Tori's phone actually was, but because he knew she wasn't gonna answer. So armed with this information, Detective Carter interviews the defendant in person. And for the first part of the interview, he continues on with the same line of reasoning and story that he is perpetuating from the beginning. He tries to cast off responsibility for Tori's death onto Scoop. We'll find out Scoop was. But he was Tori's sometime boyfriend. Agent Carter was able to.
He was found guilty of count 6 to 8, which was taking off the weapon from the crime scene, taking off the car from the crime scene, and concealing of a dead body.
But was he technically found guilty if it was a mistrial? I don't think
No.
it technically
No,
was.
they-
The
they
jury agreed, but
Mm.
because there was a mistrial, nothing
Yeah.
was
I know
entered.
your cell phone. I know you were with her that night. I
Yeah.
know.
Apparently that was what he told the police after he told them he wasn't there. Then they
Could have been moving it.
did the cell tower thing, and then he said, yeah, I took the gun from there, I took the car from there, but she did it to herself.
What he tells Detective Carter is that he was with Tori the night of the 27th. That she came to his house despondent and suicidal. That they went to Yellow River Park and he saw that she had her mother's gun. He says they talked in the park, that she told him she was going to hurt herself, that he took the gun from her, placed it on the ground, gave her a hug, that she pushed him away, grabbed the gun, and shot herself in the head. That's the story that he told the detective. He continued on into that he was scared. So he took the gun. He took her car. The gun he disposed of by throwing it in a pond somewhere in the county. Divers checked the pond, couldn't find the gun, but it was a year after he threw the gun in the pond that they were finally able to check. But the gun was never found. It wasn't on the scene, which is important. He took her car, and his description was that he parked it in the cut. A slang term, an alley, just kind of an out of the way place. So he parked the car somewhere, and then he just went back home. The car was found August 1st in a nature preserve in DeKalb County, burned to the frame. Now, unfortunately, there was no evidence that was able to be recovered from the car it was so completely burned, there's not really a way to determine whether or not even an accelerant was used. But the car was essentially burned down to the frame. This is a murder. Now, Dr. Terry is going to tell you that the manner and cause of death is undetermined. But she made that ruling and that determination on July 29, 2021, without being a party to or privy to the cover-up, or attempted cover-up by the defendant, without knowing that the car was burned.
What does that have to do with anything?
Any of the other information that was gathered afterwards. Now,
The
some of
medical
that has
examiner
been
is not
given to her,
supposed
and
to
that
take
will
in
not
that
necessarily
information.
change her rule. But this is why we have you. Dr. Terry's determination.
The pathologist or the medical examiner?
Is not
The,
what determines whether or not
I
somebody-
believe medical examiner who did the
The medical
autopsy.
examiner should take into consideration other things.
Okay.
Murder in Georgia, as charged, is felony murder, is committing a felony during which the death of another is caused. Well, the notion that Tori picked up a gun off the ground and shot herself in the side of the head 10 to 12 inches away in such a way that it severed her brainstem, which would have stopped her movement, functioning, heartbeat, breathing.
Let's just think about something here.
While laying down.
He just said, as a definitive fact, that it was, 8 to 12 inches away or 10 to 12 inches away. That's concluded based off of the medical examiner, he just said, who also said that a cause of death cannot be determined.
Yeah.
So he's cherry picking facts and presenting them as truths when he already said that the medical examiner was inconclusive.
Yeah. And when it comes to stipplings and residue, if you have 12 targets and you shoot at it 10 to 12 inches away, you get 12 different patterns.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it to say it wasn't 9 or 8 inches away?
Right.
Or 16 inches away. 10 to 12 is very precise.
Yeah, I just find it interesting that he was so definitive on that particular fact when he already said that the medical examiner was unable to determine cause of death.
Yeah. So I would assume that the defense will really...
I liked the defense last time. I hope they do the same.
Yeah.
Is far-fetched. The only reasonable way this could have happened involves this defendant's hand on a firearm, which is a deadly weapon. And to point a firearm at another person is aggravated assault. There are other charges on the indictment, voluntary manslaughter and 2 counts of possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. The top 2 counts of 10 to 12 inches away, everybody knows what a foot is. It's just not a common way to commit suicide. It's, as described by the defendant, just unlikely. It's also contradictory to the physical evidence found by Dr. Terry.
Unlikely is
Those
not
findings,
beyond
those
reasonable
physical
doubt.
findings, those are important. They found in particular that she was where she was when she was shot. Because that determines where the firearm was. Those are facts. When you look at the situation as a whole, after hearing the evidence
Uh,
from the
Good
state,
morning, Gigi.
seeing video, after seeing
Gigi,
video,
look if Brandon didn't.
I'm going to come back and ask you to find this defendant guilty, in particular, of felony murder and aggravated assault. Because the state will have proven beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's just what it sounds like, a reasonable doubt. It's not a burden the state shies away from. It's not a burden that the state is scared of, afraid of, or feels the need to over-explain to you.
And yeah, it should be good.
But one that it proudly picks up and says, this murderer is guilty of murder. Look at him cover up his murder.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lewis. Mr. Lawrence Lewis, any defense opening?
I almost word by word, almost the same opening statement. So I would assume that he will do exactly the same as last time when it was a hung jury.
It worked, right?
Well, to a hung jury, split down the middle after 3 days of deliberations. The state's opening, and I'm a bit too much laid back for my taste. But he is a prosecutor. He has done this before. He should know this court. And yeah, let's see what the defense does.
Opening statements in a criminal jury trial is supposed to be, and it's typically where lawyers outline what they believe the evidence is going to be in the case, the evidence that you're going to hear and see from the witness stand. And that evidence typically consists of facts. Evidence is facts, not feelings. There will be 5 undisputed facts in the case. Fact number 1, the morning of July 28, 2021, Tory Lang died by gunshot wound in Yellow River Park. That's an undisputed fact. That's the first undisputed fact. The second undisputed fact is Austin Ford is the only other person that's present, if you believe his statement to the police, when Tory Lang is shot, and Austin Ford, tells the police Tory Lang shot herself. That's an undisputed fact. The third undisputed fact, Austin Ford talks to the police face to face 8 months after Tory Lang dies, which is also 8 months after the medical examiner has made the determination, I cannot tell if it is a homicide or a suicide. Medical examiner and Austin Ford didn't get together. The medical examiner makes a determination on July 29th, 2021. I cannot tell, based on the science, whether it was a suicide or a homicide.
Close to the original
determination back on July 29th. She sticks by that very determination, April of 2023. As we sit here today, there's no other medical examiner, expert, or scientist that has contradicted Dr. Terry. So that brings us to the fourth fact. Dr. Carol Terry has just extensive experience. She's going to tell you she's got like 61 or 6,200 autopsies. Let me just tell you right now, that's a very conservative number. That's a very conservative number. She probably has closer to 7,000 or 8,000 autopsies. Since 1990, when she began the study of pathology, when I mean study, I mean the residency. Medical school's over. She does a 5-year residency. She is and has been devoted to pathology, absolutely devoted. So she's done 6,000 autopsies, and she will testify under oath the same way she testified at a prior hearing in April of 2023, that she can determine with scientific certainty that Tory Lang was lying down face up when she was shot. But she will tell you, Dr. Terry will, I cannot determine, the science cannot determine whether Tory Lang committed suicide or if somebody else shot her. That's the fourth fact. That's what Dr. Terry's going to tell you. Facts, not feelings. The fifth fact is, and you're going to learn this, the gun that Tory Lang brings to Yellow River Park belongs to her family. Tory Lang brings the gun and then shoots herself. There's no contradiction to that. The state now wants to talk about all the possibilities Are the possibilities supported in the evidence? Well, that's not really that important because we get into our feelings now. Get into our feelings. He was supposed to be her friend. Listen, can we just stick with the facts? The facts. Dr. Carol Terry, looking at the science, says it's just as likely that it was a suicide as it was a homicide. Now we're going to twist that up. We're going to spend 3 days twisting that line right there up. We're going to twist and twist. It's assisted suicide because it's definitely not count 3. I was mad and then I decided to shoot. It's definitely not going to be result of a sudden, violent, and irresistible passion resulting from serious provocation. It's not going to be that at all because the science is undisputed that Tory Lange lies down, face up when the bullet pierces her head. So there's not going to be any evidence of sudden, violent, or irresistible. That's just there. That's just there. I guess if you don't like the murder charge. So here's the only question you're going to have to deal with. Is it suicide, in which case my client is not guilty of anything, or is it assisted suicide, which is illegal? Because there's no question, based on the science, that's unrefuted. No expert. And Dr. Terry has not changed her opinion at all. So we're going to go back and forth and we're going to twist this all around. But I'm telling you.
Oh, no. Oh, Jesus Christ. Buffering, opening up Microsoft Edge.
Don't you love the internet?
Yeah.
Now we're going to have to determine. You and the state would like for you get into your feelings and overrule the science.
Okay, I'm going to switch to
Hello,
Microsoft
everybody.
Edge. Hi, say something.
Yes, hi. How are you? This is I like this defense counsel's approach. I watched your stream yesterday from the first trial, which was day 1. I like the way he questions witnesses. He's calm. He's collected. I like his opening statement. He's impassioned. It's just all around awesome.
Yeah, he had sometimes a bit of a tone that could be translated to condescending, but he walks an extremely thin line with the mother and the paternal grandmother.
I'm not getting the chats on StreamYard. I might reset myself. I'll be right back.
Okay.
With the facts.
Let's go back a bit.
Which is illegal. Because there's no question, based on the science, that's unrefuted. No expert. And Dr. Terry has not changed her opinion at all. So we're going to go back and forth. We're going to twist this all around. And the state would like for you get into your feelings and overrule the science. Yeah? Let's just go with the facts. The judge will tell you at the end of the trial. You gotta look at the facts. You gotta put the common sense with the facts.
Somehow my StreamYard chat went haywire, but yeah. On the afternoon session, I have 3 shots already paid for. Thank you, Brandon. Somebody squealed to Brandon that I'm on vacation and I don't have work the day after.
What's he doing? He's going back to his file. He's going to pull out a piece of paper. Oh, that's the prosecutor.
Yeah, that's the prosecutor.
Oh, that opening statement was done. That was good.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Yeah, good and concise and impassioned and short. Yep. This is the same order of operations. This is the same first witness, isn't it? Oh, no. They had the old man as the first witness.
Yeah.
It is very quiet, though, Nicholas, the trial.
It's...
My name is Theresa Lang.
And Theresa, who is Tori Lang to you?
Tori Kiwi, she's my daughter. She's my husband and I only daughter. And we call her Kiwi. Her name was a Kiwi. That was her nickname given to her at birth. She improvised that.
Kiwi is not a good nickname.
To this day, she's like fuzzy on the outside and sweet in the middle. She's so sweet.
All the way. Put those microphones right where you're speaking. Thank you.
Come on, lady, you already done this once.
Just how she came by her nickname Kiwi, and her favorite color is green. And
How old was Tori?
Tori was 18.
In July of 2021, where was she in life?
At that time, she was in school, online for engineering, and it was a program she got accepted in for engineering, and she was looking forward to working in the field with engineering, but it was going to pay her a stipend, in the program for doing the engineering program. And meanwhile, she was looking for work until that happened.
I'm sorry, excuse me. It's just a little bit distracting. If I could just ask at defense counsel table to kind of minimize the conversation. Sorry. I apologize.
Where did Tori go to high school?
She started at two high schools. She went to Arabian Mountain High School, and then she eventually graduated from Stevenson High School.
Show you which one states 1 and 2. What are states 1 and 2?
Sorry?
Are those both true and accurate depictions of your daughter?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state would tender states 1 and 2.
1 and 2 are admitted without objection. Can you reach? You need the quick share.
Showing statements to the ones that are already been introduced for jury. Can you tell the jury about this photo?
Yes, it's a photo shoot we did for her for graduation. She graduated in 2020, and she didn't get a chance to have a traditional graduation because of COVID-19. So we still had our photo shoot, our moment for graduation. So we did a personal photo shoot for her, and she's wearing all her medals and cords and her diploma that she achieved in high school.
When is the last time you remember seeing Tori?
The last time I remember seeing Tori was on July.
What's up? I can't hear anything.
She didn't have her phone because I was
Oh,
transferring
Jesus,
services
sorry.
over from Verizon.
I forgot when I put Edge up, if I mute myself, I mute this as well.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Time it was?
It was around 3:30 p.m. that day on a Tuesday.
The last time you saw her, did Tori have her phone?
No, she didn't have her phone.
Why not?
She didn't have her phone because I was transferring our services over from Verizon to Xfinity, and that process was very tedious. It was very stressful. It took days for the porting to take place. Every day I was calling to port the lines over. It wasn't working.
You
I
had
mean,
to
it took like hours, not good days, like hours, and like a day or so for me to complete.
Did you have to have her phone in order to port her number over to Xfinity?
Yes.
So as far as you know, did she have a phone with her the last time you saw her?
No.
When did you come to the conclusion that Tori was missing?
We shouldn't return home that night or the next day.
What did you do as a result of her not coming home?
Well, Tuesday afternoon, we were over to celebrating a friend's birthday that night or whatever. And after that, when I came home, she still wasn't there. So I went out looking for her. I was driving by her friends' houses and things of that sort, looking for the car, looking for her, calling around looking for her. Couldn't find her.
What kind of car was it that she drove?
She drove a 2012 Nissan Versa blue.
Did you find it? Were you aware of some of the people who you believe to be her friends? Any of them?
Yes.
Who'd you know?
I know Austin Ford, and there's a few girlfriends she had, friends.
When you discovered Tori was missing, did you talk to the defendant?
Yes.
What did he tell you the first time you spoke to him?
I spoke to him shortly after midnight of the 27th. I called And I called from Tori's phone. At this point, her phone was ported over. After midnight, it ported over. So I was able to use her phone, not my phone. So I called him. He didn't answer when I called. But then again, he called me back shortly after.
What did you ask him?
I was like, hey, have you seen Tori? You know, he was like, we're looking for her. He was like, no, I haven't seen her. And earlier that day, he was looking for her. He came by the house looking for her as well on that Tuesday.
Okay,
And
when you say that day, I need you to be specific. So you called him on the 28th, which was a
Wednesday,
Which was
early,
Wednesday.
yeah, it was like around 12:30 that night.
Okay.
I mean, midnight or after midnight, going to Wednesday morning.
All right, so that was the 28th, about 12:30. You said 12:30 in the morning.
Yeah, something like that.
This is the 28th into the 29th, or the 27th into the 28th.
The 27th to the 28th.
So you called very early morning on the 28th,
Yes.
and he said he didn't know where she was.
He called me back. I was like, hello. And he's like, I can hear him in the background saying, this Tori, like whispering, like he's talking to someone. This Tori. So like he was shocked to hear Tori on the phone. I said, no, it's not Tori. Someone, we're looking for Tori. Have you seen her? You know, because he was looking for her early that day on Tuesday as well. I haven't seen her. So he said, you haven't seen Tori. I said, you sure you haven't seen her? He said, no, I haven't seen her. I was like, okay. So I was on to the next, trying to call someone else to see, have they seen her?
Did you talk to him again before you found out what happened to Tori?
No.
Did you talk to him after you found out what happened to Tori?
Yes.
When was that?
I found out what happened to Tori on the 29th, which was a Thursday. So it was maybe late Thursday afternoon I spoke with him.
What was your conversation about on that Thursday afternoon?
When I called him Thursday, I'm like, listen, I know Tori came to your house to see you Tuesday, whatever. He was like, yeah, Mom told me that you were going to be upset with me. I'm like, why? Because I did see Tori that night. He just didn't tell me he saw her that night. You know, he said he saw her, she came over to his house.
Did he say where she went after he said she left his house?
No, he said he didn't know where she went.
What happened after that? Tell me about what happened in relation to this after that second time you spoke to the defendant.
Well, when I called him, I told him I knew that Tori came over because I seen her on a Ring camera, my neighbor's Ring camera. We surfing around 10:30 Tuesday night. I know, she came back to the house. I knew she was leaving the house to go back over there because she went to the mailbox. It looked like she got something on her mailbox. I was like, I know she came to your house because she came to the house around 10:30 and she left to go back out. And I knew she was coming by you.
This is from your neighbor's ring.
Right. I just told him I saw him on the Ring camera, and that's when he admitted, yeah, she did come over, to his house. And I asked him, so she didn't say where she was going? He's like, no, she didn't say where she was going.
Was that the end of that conversation with the defendant?
No. He made a statement about her came over. She wanted $300 to find someone to hurt her. Like, hurt her? Like, what are you talking about?
Explain?
So he made that statement. Like, she wants somebody to hurt her. Like, why she wants somebody to hurt her? Like, it was confusing. Like, why would you say that? Like, what are you talking about? So he told me that statement. I went and told the detective what he said.
Detective.
This was Corporal Smith at the time.
Okay.
He was the first detective on the case.
Let's concentrate on your contact with Austin Ford. Were there, I guess, events that were scheduled by the family after you found out about Tori's death?
Yes.
What was the first of them?
The first event was a virtual, kind of like visual we had for her.
Where was that held?
In Yellow River Park, where they said she was found at the tree.
Did you tell her friends about it?
Yes. And a lot of her friends was putting it out in social media for me and things of that sort. And of course, I told him about it.
Did he go?
No, he didn't.
Did he say why he didn't go?
When he came over to my mother-in-law's house, him and his mother came. He was like, no, I can't come this time because I have to go to a football game or something like that. I'm like, football game? Like, okay, whatever. And his mom was like, he's not ready to come out right now. It's too soon for him to come out. And then he was like, well, I don't want to be a green bean. Like, what are you talking about, a green bean? I don't want the guys that hurt Tori come looking for me. Like,
That's a change
why would they come looking for
from
you? What are you talking about?
the first testimony.
He was just confusing me. He was just acting weird and saying crazy things like somebody's gonna come looking for him because they hurt Tori. And like, why would they come looking for you? It just wasn't. I just left it alone.
That's weird.
So you held the vigil at.
I don't think that what she just said was in the first.
Isn't that hearsay?
No, he didn't come.
Yeah,
The way it was presented?
Was the vigil before or after Tori's funeral?
It was before.
Obviously, you held a funeral for Tori.
Yes, I did.
Did you notify the defendant of it?
Yes.
Did he attend?
Yes.
Have any contact with him at the funeral?
After the funeral, I seen him after we did a celebration of life with Tori, a second line, New Orleans style second line, because we're from New Orleans. And at the end, he came up to me, he hugged me and embraced me, saying I'm so sorry, and all this, yeah, we was just having a moment at that time.
Was that between Tori's funeral and now? Was that the last contact you had with the defendant?
No, I spoke with him after the funeral several times, but I had another event for her. Her birthday was in September, so we had another party for her celebration. He didn't attend that either, but I was talking to him after the funeral.
At any point, did he tell you anything about what happened to Tori?
No.
At any point, did he, I guess, shed any light upon her death?
No.
Did he ever tell you that he had been there at the time that she died?
No.
Now, you also, there was also, when you reported Tori, well, did you report Tori missing?
Yes,
Dave,
I did.
is the chat window on StreamYard working for you?
Nope, it is
called
not.
DeKalb County
Sorry, I
police
missed
that
your
live in DeKalb County
trying to work.
to report her missing on
When you
Wednesday.
chat, it goes out, but nothing is coming in.
Did you also, I'm sorry.
It was July 28th I reported her missing.
Did you also at some point report
Good morning,
to the
Melissa.
police that
You got to
your
open it
fire-
on another window.
Yes, I notified the detective Gwinnett, the Gwinnett detectives when they came over to tell me what happened to Tori. At that time, I notified them about it. But that's when I really noticed it was missing.
Did you know what happened to it?
No.
To show you what's marked as State's Exhibit 3. You recognize these?
Yes.
What is State's Exhibit 3?
That was the casing my gun was in, or where I bought it in.
Is that a reenacted depiction of the
It was her gun. She did it?
that your firearm was in?
Yes.
What is State's Exhibit 4?
It's the receipt from the location I purchased it from.
Is that a true and accurate depiction of that receipt?
Yes.
And State's Exhibit 5? You recognize it?
Yes.
What's State's Exhibit 5?
Some bullets.
Were those the rounds that were located inside the gun case that you had?
I think so, yes.
Your Honor, the state would tender States 3, 4, and 5.
States 3, 4, and 5 are admitted without objection.
Do you recall what make and model gun it was?
It was a SIG compact.
State's Exhibit 3 is being published to the jury. This is the gun case.
Is that where you kept your gun before it was found at the murder scene?
It says currently upside down, the P365 10+1. Is that the model of gun that you had?
Yes,
And is that a secondary magazine for it?
correct.
Well, last time she testified to that the gun was in the holster on her bedside table after cross-examination. You're muted.
This is State's Exhibit 4.
So I'm trying to work, so I'm trying to get the background noise down. But yeah, and it was a gun that you could tell, or it was a holster rather, that you could tell if the gun was in it or not.
Yeah.
365 9mm.
But she wasn't able to tell if it was in it.
Did you know what happened to that gun?
No.
I
I
can't
heard
mute
that.
myself. Yeah, I can't mute myself when I'm sneezing because then I mute the stream.
I don't know what kind of setup you have. It doesn't happen to me.
No, but,
I use Edge.
No, but I have Edge in another window.
Defendant.
And then all of a sudden it
Yes.
doesn't want to. Then it's connected to
Yes.
my sound.
Was this prior to Tori's death?
When you say prior, you mean?
That's weird.
Yeah. So
Yes.
I am having StreamYard on Chrome, but I had to open up Edge for the stream to work.
Oh, maybe that's why.
Yeah.
I do everything through Edge.
Did you have your gun with you?
No.
Diane Tessier, good morning from California. Can anyone tell me what this case is about, please?
Why don't
Thank
we
you.
pause it
Did you ever?
and give an overview? Because you've like doubled your audience since this started.
Yeah. So this is the retrial of Georgia versus Austin Ford. In 2021, let's see here. In 2021, what's Lida Lang? No? Jesus Christ, my memory is off by a long shot. Well, Austin Ford was, the victim was found in the woods with a gunshot wound to her head. The medical examiner could not determine if it was a homicide or suicide. At the time, Austin Ford,
Best friends with the victim.
Yeah, he is best friends with the victim, and a few years prior they dated. Not until 8 months later, they brought him in for questioning because he had previously said, I wasn't there. Then they checked with cell phone towers and determined, yes, you were there. And then he said, yes, I was there. She shot herself. I panicked. I took the gun and the car and tossed the gun in a lake and parked the car in an alley.
Yeah, essentially he put himself at the time, date, and location of the murder, but says he didn't do it, that it was a self-unaliving. And they tried to prosecute him, resulting in a hung jury, right?
Yeah.
The jury agreed that he had concealed evidence of a crime, but not that he had actually committed the crime.
Yeah, that was split down the middle, 6-6, on counts of murder and different counts and voluntary manslaughter. But so now, 4 months later, they are retrying. And so far, the prosecution is making more or less the exact same case as they did previously. Now, her answers has been slightly different. She has added a bit of information here. I don't know. Do you know that, David, if she can be impeached for changing testimony? Because this was not exactly what she told you under oath last
Yeah,
time.
it depends. Somebody asked me that too on the Cronenberg case, Brian Kohlberger. And it depends, if that victim could change, or the one that was still in the apartment, if she could change her statement from what she put in the affidavit. And you can to a certain degree. What it really does is that it attacks your credibility. So if she's trying to clarify or rephrase things just to make it more clear, that's not perjury. But if she outright says, say for example, her last testimony was, he never told me that he was there, right? That was her testimony. Now, if she completely flipped that to, yeah, he absolutely did tell me he was there, and he told me all about it, and he told me he did it, things that are extremely contradictory, then she could potentially be charged with perjury. However, it's still a hard case to prove because you have to prove that she intentionally lied. Although in that example, it would be, fairly easy.
Yeah.
So,
And so for the changes she is talking about now is last trial. The thing about the holster and stuff like that the defense had to pull out of her during cross-examination. Now she's adding it to her testimony. Or the
so that's not,
prosecution.
that's not a change. It's just that the order of her testimony is different because it's being brought out on direct as opposed to cross, and they're trying to get ahead of it so that they don't have that same impact that it had during the first trial. I was like, let's get out ahead of it.
Yeah. So that is,
The defendant permission to do anything with your gun?
No,
You ever given permission to touch your gun?
no.
Hopefully that helps you, Diane.
And the defendant, well, let me ask you this. Is Tori's alleged friend Austin Ford in the courtroom today?
Yes, he is.
Identify him, please.
He's right there with the gray suit on.
That's all the questions I have at this time.
there was fewer questions as well.
All right, thank you. Cross-examination from the defense.
If I ask you a question that you don't understand, you just let me know.
I love his approach.
I rephrase it so that you and I are on the same page, okay? Let me start here. What day did you feel like Tori was missing?
Well, July 27th to the 28th.
July 27th to the 28th. And she was living with you at the time, is that right?
Correct.
She always lived with you, is that right?
Yes, for the most part. Yeah, for the most part, yes.
In between the time she graduated in 2020, when COVID had just first started, and the time of her death in 2021, she lived with you during that time, is that right?
Yes.
So was it the morning of the 28th when you didn't see her that you felt something was wrong, or was it the night before on the 27th?
The night before, going into the 28th.
Going into the 28th. And when did you first learn that Tori had been located?
Thursday, on the 29th of July.
And when did you first discover that your gun was missing?
Actually, that morning of the 29th.
Okay, so was it before you learned that Tori had been discovered that you discovered your gun missing?
Yes, that morning, yes. Because I was getting ready to go out looking for her again, so I wanted to bring her along with me.
That's new.
So you were going to go out looking for Tori. You went to get your gun, and at that point in time, you saw that your gun was missing. Is that right?
Yes.
All right, and I'm going to show you what's been marked Stacy. Was this where your gun was normally kept in this case?
No.
All right. Did that case house your gun at some point in time when the gun was purchased?
When it was purchased, yes.
When it was purchased. And typically, did you keep your gun in a holster, or did you keep it in that case?
In a holster.
In the holster. And typically, did you keep your gun by your bed? Where did you typically keep your gun?
Most times I used to carry it with me because I have a license to carry. Most of I carry it with me. So sometimes I use my purse, or I'm home. It still be in my purse or whatever.
All right. Do you recall the last time you actually saw the gun?
Yes.
When was that?
It was around July the 19th or 20th.
July 19th
That's a change.
or 20th of 2021.
Correct.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. July 19th
She
of 2021. Had
played
Austin
them side by side.
out the ball in July of 2021?
It's a possibility he has because he always come over when we're not there.
Okay. Were you out of
That's
town
a
in
change.
between July 19th and July 28th of 2021 when Tori died at the park?
She's back.
Yes, I was out of town previously.
All right. And did Austin Ford habitually come to your house or come into your house when you weren't there?
Yes, he does.
Okay. Do you recall at a prior hearing indicating under oath that Austin Ford rarely came to your house? He normally would stay at the corner and Tori would go out and meet him. Do you recall saying that at a prior hearing?
Correct.
Okay.
He don't come there when we're there. He come mostly when we're not there.
Okay.
And if he comes to the house, they'll go outside and chill outside or whatever, walk up the street or go somewhere together.
All right. So if I understand your testimony here today in front of the jury, you were out of town between July 20th and July the 28th. Is that right?
No, I went out of town. It was that weekend. Remember that weekend? I think I want to say that it was July 17th. I was in New Orleans.
Okay.
We came back around the 19th.
All right. Did you have the gun in your possession when you were in New Orleans?
Correct.
Okay. So the gun was in your possession on the 17th.
Are you allowed to carry a gun
19th.
between
When you got
states?
back from New Orleans, where did you place
Yeah,
it?
absolutely.
Okay.
It was still in my bag, I think.
In your bag. And
Let me add a caveat to that. Sorry. Yes, you could carry a gun between states. You could transport a firearm between states. What is the important thing is that if you are like selling or something like that, you got to comply with FDA federal regulations and things like that. Not FDA, the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms.
But don't
ATF.
yeah.
But if you're just transporting it for personal uses, you absolutely can transport it. If you are carrying it as a concealed weapon, then you want to make sure that the state you're entering into has reciprocity for your concealed weapons license or whatever. Just want to make sure you honor the rules. But if you put it in a locked case separate from the ammunition, you could drive it all over the country.
Okay. I'm going back in a few seconds.
17th, 18th, and 19th. When you got back from New Orleans, where did you place the gun?
It was still in my bag, I think. In my bag I brought.
In your bag. And was your bag typically kept in the car? Did you typically bring your bag into the house from the car?
In the house.
Okay.
It was my travel bag.
I got you. July 19th, you return from New Orleans. You have your travel bag. Your gun is in your bag. Got it. Did you then go back out of town after July 19th?
No.
Okay. So between July 19th, when you bring the travel bag in with the gun, and July 28th, when Tori is shot, Austin Ford is not in your home. Is that fair to say?
No, I'm not sure.
Okay, well, let me take a step back. Did you go out of town after you came back in?
He is a bit rougher towards.
19th of 2021. Did you go back out again?
I have to be out of town for him to come over. You know, I don't have to be home when he come over. I don't necessarily be out of town when he comes over. He comes over when I'm not home.
Okay, I want to understand a few things. In between July 19th, 2021 and July 28th, 2021, when Tori was located at Yellow River Park, were you working full time?
Yes.
Okay, and so you would leave the house when you were working. Is that right?
At that time, I was working from home.
Right, because that was in the middle of COVID, right?
Let me ask my question. Yes, I guess.
Oh. July of 2021. We're in COVID at that time. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, and so you're working at home, correct?
Yes.
All right. So I'm just trying to nail this thing down. You come back from out of town. You have your gun July 19th, 2021. You recall last seeing the gun July 19th, 2021, correct?
Correct.
And in the next 9 days, you don't go back out of town and you're working from home, correct?
Yes.
Right. And you can't tell the jury that Austin Ford at any time in those 9 days came to your home. Is that fair to say?
No, because I don't know. I don't be at home all day long. And he did come to our house within that time. He came on the outside. He didn't come inside. When I was there, he came.
Yes, ma'am. I guess the prosecutors asked certain questions about whether or not Austin Ford may have been inside your home and taken your gun. That's really what I'm asking about. Do you understand that?
Okay.
Okay. You came back from New Orleans on the 19th of July, 2021, correct?
Okay. Yes.
You had your gun with you, right?
Yes.
And Tori comes up shot July 28th, 2021 at Yellow River Park. Is that right?
Yes.
In those
she was found on the 20th. Yeah.
Right. In those 9 days, in between the time you return from New Orleans and the time Tori is shot, you are working from home, correct?
Yes, and it's only in the early morning.
Okay. And then afternoon, what are you doing?
Whatever, running errands, going out.
Okay.
I don't stay. I'm not a homebody, so I work in the morning. I do whatever I have to do for the day.
I understand, ma'am. but we're still talking about July 2021 in the middle of COVID, correct? You're not going to tell the jury that while there were restrictions in DeKalb County about moving around, you were just out and about 6, 7, 8 hours a day in DeKalb County in July 2021. You're not going to tell the jury that, are you?
Yes, I am, because around that time we were able to go. People was going out more, shopping more. Everything was like almost back to normal.
No, they
Okay, so
didn't.
if I understand your testimony correctly, the
Well,
9
I don't
days
know
when you
that
returned from
specific
New
county.
Orleans and in between the time you returned from New Orleans and the time that Tory is shot, your testimony is Austin Ford could have come to your home and taken your gun. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay. There we are. Do you typically keep the gun by your bedside at all?
I do keep it by the bedside sometimes, not all the time.
Okay, not all the time. And so in the 9 days when you're out and about, you're not carrying it with you in those 9 days. Is that right?
No,
And
I
you're
wasn't
not
carrying.
keeping it by your bedside. Is that right?
No,
Right. And even though Tory didn't tell you that Austin had been at the house, and you don't have any evidence that Austin had been at the house, your position today is Austin might have been at the house and might have taken the gun. Is that right?
typically she don't tell me that he's at the house. They just come over. So yes,
I got you. Do you have any sort of security ring camera or anything like that at your house?
no, my neighbor does.
Okay, the neighbor does. Did the neighbor show you any ring camera that showed Austin pulling up in a car and coming into your home anytime in the 9 days in between the time you returned from New Orleans and the time that Tory was found dead?
I didn't check the ring camera for those days. I didn't ask him. And only time I checked the ring camera was when we discovered that she wasn't here anymore, to see did she actually return back home that night or whatever. And he did come by our house on the 27th, look for Tory several times.
Okay,
And my
good.
husband caught him outside as he was pulling up, saw him outside, and he came prior to that, he said, looking for Tory.
Yes, ma'am. And he was on a ring camera then, correct? Or you don't know?
I didn't look back for the time
Okay,
frame.
that's
I just
fine.
looked for the time frame that the last time I seen her.
Yes, and after Tory, after the police discovered Tory deceased, and after you had determined that Austin Ford had lied to you, you didn't follow up with your neighbor to see if Austin Ford had been at your house in the 9 days prior to Tory's disappearance. Is that right?
Can it be a bit too rough now? Because this jury hasn't heard anything.
To go look back for that for him.
You understand?
Potentially.
Because last time he was really walking on eggshells. Now he is a lot harsher.
Maybe you could read it that way. I think the jury might think that a little bit if he's too rough with her, but then once he gets further witnesses in, because remember, it's different order, right? And so I think this was strategic by the state, because the first witness was the elderly man that came across the body.
Yeah.
And then it was this witness. And so he had kind of a ramp up, right? I think it's the same approach, but he's coming at it cold.
Okay.
And so maybe that's the difference.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. So he does change it up, even though he had the opening statement was almost word by word the same.
Well, the state changes up the order of witnesses. He can't control that. So he's still approaching the witness, I think, with the same sort of tenacity. But again, he had, with the elderly gentleman was the first witness last time. He was very gentle with him. And I really like that. And so I don't know. Maybe this is a failure on the defense end. He should have changed it up and come at her a little meeker.
Yeah.
Because it's the first witness. But we'll see. Time will tell.
Time will tell.
And at some point in time, the detective in the case told you that she's taking warrants against Austin Ford. Is that right?
Yes.
Do you recall when that happened?
Yeah, that was Good Friday of 22. April 15th, 22.
April 15th, 2022. In between April 15th and 2022 and today, did you ever go talk to the neighbor to see if the neighbor had ring camera footage of Austin Ford coming to your home in the 9 days prior to Tory's disappearance?
No.
Okay.
It wasn't my job to do that. I mean, I thought the detective would work on that part. I wasn't thinking about that.
Yes, I understand that, ma'am.
I was in shock to find out it was him. So.
Yes, ma'am. And you find out in April of 2022, correct?
Correct.
Okay, good. So you're still trying to figure out what happened, are you not?
Correct.
Okay. And so when we start talking about how the gun left your home, you don't know how your gun left your home. Is that right?
Correct.
You just know it was last in your home on July 19th, 2021. Is that right?
That's why I last put my eyes on it. Yes.
Okay, when you last put your eyes on it. So just in
that's a bit of a change from a testimony last time.
Or if Austin
But the jury doesn't know
Besides
that.
in the 9 days,
Yeah.
did you ever ask a neighbor if
That's why I
they
don't
saw
like
anything
retrials.
or if the ring camera captured anything?
Back in April 22, when I found out they were putting warrants out.
Yes, ma'am.
No,
Anytime after
no, I
that?
didn't.
Okay. Is that the only gun that you purchased in the last 3 years? The gun that was in that case?
Yes,
All right. And the type of ammunition, State's exhibit number 5, is this the type of these the rounds that were inside of the is that the ammunition that was inside of the gun case?
yes,
And you gave the case and the ammunition to the police, is that right?
correct.
All right. Were you familiar with the type of rounds those were when you gave those rounds to the police, the ammunition to the police?
No,
Okay. Do you recall if you gave that to the original investigator, Detective Smith, or if you gave that to someone else, the ammunition along with the gun case?
to Corporal Smith.
Corporal Smith. Were there letters that you also gave to Corporal Smith?
Yes, Nanya. More or less what I recall from last trial was that they more or less agreed that Tori brought the gun with her, according to the testimony. But now they are changing it up a bit. So this testimony is quite different from last trial, but the jury doesn't know. And the defense attorney, well, he's trying to impeach about it, but yeah.
Wait a minute. So last trial, I didn't catch all of it. Last trial, everyone agreed that Tori brought the gun.
Yeah, because last trial, the testimony was that Austin Ford did not show up in her house between last time she saw the gun and when she was found deceased.
And now she's saying she doesn't know.
Now she says, I don't know if he was there or not, but he was there all the time or something of that sort.
So this is something where you should be able to pull the transcripts out and impeach her.
Yeah.
Corporal Smith came to the house?
Letters I gave him. He
Letters?
went into her room and collected her journals.
Okay, so
It was separate sheets of journals that she was journaling.
all right, Detective Smith collected any correspondence that he thought was relevant from Tori's room. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. He collected everything.
Did he show you any of the letters or the diaries that he collected from Tori's room?
I saw some of them. It was basically she was journaling to God, praying to God. She journaled, she prayed to God, and she journaled to God, but she just reading or whatever. So we just basically journal that she was. I didn't read all of them.
Okay. Did you see anything in the journal that would have led you to believe that she and Austin weren't best friends in July of 2021?
Well, her journal wasn't about her best friends or anything like that. It was like I said, she was just praying to God and stuff like that. She prayed by writing it.
I understand. Did you understand my question?
Yes.
My question was there anything in the journal that would indicate that she and Austin were not best friends in July of 2021?
I'll allow it. If you can answer that question, ma'am, please do so.
I didn't read everything, so what I read was only about God. That's all.
Okay. Were Tori and Austin best friends in July of 2021?
They were friends or whatever.
Okay. You wouldn't describe them as best friends, is that right?
Absolutely not. She may thought there was more than just friends or whatever. She probably considered him as a friend, a friend or whatever. I don't consider him that.
Ma'am, we're not talking about what you may have considered. We're talking about your daughter in terms of the contact that she had and how she described Austin and talked about Austin. Was Austin and Tori best friends in July of 2021?
They were close friends.
Okay. And how long had they been close friends?
Maybe like 4 to 5 years.
Okay, all through high school, correct?
Not all through high school, but like 4 or 5 years.
All right, Tori had just graduated
in 2020.
In 2020, correct?
Yes.
Okay, she only spent 4 years in high school, correct?
Yes, but she met him at Stevenson, not at Arabia. She went to high school in Arabia Mountain to high school.
Okay,
she met him.
She's in practice, Jamie.
Okay, and what year was that? What year did she start Stevenson?
It had to be like 2018, I think.
Okay, so she met him.
2018.
Okay, she met him in 2018, and she died in 2021. That would have only been 3 years. Yet you said they were friends for 5 years.
Like 4 to 5 years, yeah, something like that.
Got you. She graduated in 2020, did she not?
Tori graduated in 2020.
2020 from Stevenson High School, is that right?
Correct.
And at the time, after she graduated, was she working?
After she graduated, she did work some.
What type of work did she do?
Prior to graduation, she was working in a mall, the clothing store.
Now she remembers that. She
And
didn't
in 2020,
remember
I
that
understand
last
it was
time.
COVID when she graduated in May of 2020, correct?
Correct.
I understand it was COVID going on at the time, but was she working at all? in
Baker
2020?
is in the chat.
No, they wasn't working. The mall was closed, so no.
Okay, so when COVID hit Georgia, things started shutting down. Tori was sort of at the house.
Yes, or by her grandmother or whatever. Yes,
And how far does her grandmother live from her?
less than 10 minutes.
So between May of 2020 and December of 2020, Tori was sort of in between your house and her grandmother's house. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. 2026 in 2016, when Tori was a freshman, did she have a suicidal ideation issue that put her in the hospital?
Well, can you explain what that means?
I'm gonna rephrase the question. In 2016, was Tori hospitalized?
Hospitalized. There was an incident where we took her to the hospital,
Okay, was she held for more than 24 hours?
but we were there waiting.
I just have to. I got a comment on yesterday's stream from a viewer who says, my daughter was evaluated allegedly at Bronner's in Cobb County, Georgia, for cutting when she was in high school. Apparently it was a thing to do in school. We were there for a few hours and they recommended ongoing counseling which she was already doing. So they don't always keep you on a 72-hour hold. I asked several questions, and yes, we had good insurance, just sharing my experience. Okay. That was a comment on my last stream. That's interesting because if that's her experience, that if it was just self-harming of sorts, but we will see if this will be brought up in this trial, her 2017, when was it? 20.
I don't remember the year.
Yeah, where she was held for more than 24 hours. So, yeah, that's interesting. Thank you to the person who wrote that on my previous stream as a comment. Here's the thing. The jury does not know that this woman have changed her story quite a bit, actually, from the last trial. That's the issue, because even if the attorney knows it, the jury doesn't. And how does he get it out without being an ass?
He could walk her through the transcripts.
Yeah.
He could just simply walk her through the transcripts. And, do you recall testifying last time? I did this with a 7-year-old, by the way. I had to impeach a 7-year-old from her testimony from a preliminary examination to her testimony at trial. And, it's you could do it in a delicate way. And I won that case. The jury was all over me. And I got an acquittal. But you can do it in a delicate way. And so if you just walk them through the transcript, be like, I understand, you testified. Do you remember being here before? And do you remember what you said before? Do you remember saying this? Even though today you're saying that, do you remember, being here like 3 months ago and saying this? You could do it in a gentle way.
Yeah. We are being a bit, we're only 4 minutes behind, and I'm playing this at 1.25 so we can catch up a bit.
We're just waiting. Typically waiting out. I can't remember how long it was. It was a long time though.
Okay, so you don't remember her actually being checked into the hospital, is that right?
Well, it was seeing her. Yes, it was seeing her at the hospital, local hospital, children's hospital. Yeah.
Okay, well, let me take a step back. You end up taking Tori to the hospital, correct?
Correct.
Did you end up leaving Tori at the hospital? Did they keep her at the hospital?
I didn't leave her at the hospital, no.
Okay, when you're there at the hospital and the hospital's doing their examination, what are they examining her for? What's the issue that had you taking her to the hospital?
Well, she wasn't feeling good. She made a statement saying that she took some medicine or whatever, so they was checking her out for that.
Okay, so it was a physical issue that she was there for. She was there for a physical issue like a stomach ache, is that right? In 2016?
I can't recall. I can't remember if it was a stomach or not, but she wasn't feeling good. She took some medicine or whatever, made a statement about taking some medicine. So we were concerned parents, so we took her to the doctor to see what was going on.
Okay, so it wasn't any issue about she may have taken any sort of drugs or anything like that. That wasn't the issue in 2016, is that right?
No.
Okay, and although you testified, do you recall testifying at a prior hearing that she was checked into the hospital in 2016?
Checked in? I mean, you asked me, no, I don't. She went to the hospital.
All right, did she go to the hospital again during all of the time that she was in high school?
For
whatever reason.
No,
for whatever
no.
reason. So
Oh, this is a big
prior to her
change.
death, the only time Tori had went to the hospital was 2016 when you took her to the hospital. Is that right?
Lawyer, you need to read from the
Yes.
transcript.
You don't recall exactly what the issue was other than
She's saying she was just checked in,
2016,
not
is that right?
held.
Yeah, she made a statement. She wasn't feeling well.
That's a huge change from last trial.
Yeah, he might be just locking her into a story and then hopefully hit her with the transcript. Let's see.
Yeah. Yeah, this is interesting how much, because now she's really going far away from, because last trial, which we streamed a bit from, now I'm glad I watched the first day of the previous trial, because without it I wouldn't have known. And because in the prior trial, which ended in a hung jury, she testified to that her daughter, the victim, was held in hospital for more than 24 hours. And now she said, no, we were just there to check her out. That's a big difference.
Took some medicine.
Okay, and when you say she took some medicine, she took medicine that was prescribed to her?
I'm not sure. She didn't say. It was. I don't know what medicine she took.
Okay, so Tori took some medicine, wasn't feeling well, and then you took her to the hospital, but you don't know where she got the medicine from that she took. Is that right?
She made a statement saying she took some medicine. Come to find out, it wasn't nothing. So.
Okay, you say it wasn't nothing, but I'm just trying to understand. It wasn't medicine that you and her family had taken her to get a prescription for prior to you going to the hospital, was it?
No.
Okay, so the first time that you had ever heard that Tori had consumed any medicine in 2016 is when Tori said she's not feeling well and she needed to go to the hospital. Is that right?
She said she wasn't feeling well, so we took her to the hospital to see what was going on.
Right, but the reason she wasn't feeling well is she had taken some medication that wasn't prescribed to her. Is that right?
She stated that she took some medicine.
Okay, but you don't know if she actually took that medicine. Is that
correct?
Right? Okay, and you don't recall what the actual issue was, a headache, stomach ache, or anything like that you took her to the hospital for. Is that right?
She said she wasn't feeling well.
Okay,
she said she took some medicine. I don't know.
I got you. How many times did you speak to Austin Ford after Tori died?
I can't recall. We spoke numerous times.
Okay. Did he ever appear when he was talking to you to be under the influence of any drugs, medicine, or alcohol?
No.
Okay. When he attended the funeral, but not the vigil. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And although as you described it, he was talking.
I feel like he's dropping the ball here.
Any drugs, medicine, or alcohol? Is that right?
No.
And when he attended the funeral, was his mother with him?
Yes.
Okay, so it was Austin Ford and his mother that came to the funeral. Is that right?
And someone else, because they signed her book.
Okay. And was that the last time you saw Austin Ford face to face?
No.
When did you see Austin Ford after that face to face?
When I was in his neighborhood, passing out flyers of Tori, putting up flyers in the neighborhood.
Okay, and at that time, did you have a chance to speak to him?
Yes.
All right. Did he appear to be under the influence of drugs, medicine, alcohol at that time?
No.
Had you ever seen Austin Ford in the times that he had visited your home under the influence of any drugs, medicine, alcohol?
What was the question?
The question was, at any point in time when Austin Ford came to your home in the either 3, 4, or 5 years when he knew Tori, did you ever see him under the influence of any drugs, medicine, or alcohol?
No.
Thank you very much. No further questions.
What?
Be direct from the state.
That's it. That.
There, I think he dropped the ball there because she changed her story quite a bit.
Maybe he didn't think she was a critical witness in the first trial. We didn't watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
It might be tough to judge. So I'm going to give him a little bit of latitude. He knows way more than we do.
Yeah, that's true. He does. But that's a huge change from her previous testimony, from being held in hospital for more than 24 hours to, no, we were only there to check her out. I mean, yeah. And the jury doesn't know this. And we wouldn't have known this unless we had seen the first day of the previous trial.
If she really did testify that she was held on a 72-hour hold,
She was
then
there for more than 24 hours, I believe.
okay.
Yeah.
So we were just there to check her out. Was she admitted? I mean, I'm purely speculating because I don't have the medical records in front of me, and I didn't watch the entire testimony and listen to it word for word. Maybe she wasn't actually admitted. Maybe she was just there examined. It could be 24 hours. For example, my son went into the freaking hospital 2 weeks ago. We were there for like 48 hours, but he wasn't technically admitted, right? They were just evaluating him. So I don't know. Maybe it was a technical thing like that. Who knows?
Old Line Red says, I think she even admitted to concern about self-deleting ideation last time.
See, that should have been crossed.
Yeah.
That should have been crossed on. All right, we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, because at some point he needs to show that in order to get Austin off, he needs to show that there is history of self-deletion ideas and attempts. And he didn't in this cross. Yeah.
I think there was some confusion about being checked into the hospital and being admitted. So let me ask you this. Did you take Tori to the hospital?
Yes.
Did you leave her there?
No.
Did she spend the night there in a room where she had a doctor nurse assigned to her and had to be released by a doctor before she could leave?
No.
Maybe that's the issue. That's why I didn't go into it.
In the letters that you read where you said Tori was praying to God in the letters, did any of those letters mention hurting herself?
No.
Did they ever mention a gun?
Absolutely not. No.
Did they mention finding someone to hurt her?
Absolutely not.
Did you ever really give a formal interview to Corporal Smith about Tori?
No.
When did you first talk to Corporal Smith about what had happened to Tori?
It was the day he came and told us that she wasn't here anymore.
Was that the day you gave him the gun case?
Yes.
At any point, did you really talk to him about her life, about what was going on with her at the time, as far as you knew?
No. He didn't ask me anything like that. So.
That's all the questions I have.
Be cross.
Earlier that you didn't read all of the stuff that Detective Smith collected from your daughter's bedroom. Did you testify to that?
I didn't read everything.
That's correct.
I didn't read everything. No, it was
Right.
too much stuff to read. So.
Right. So when you answer the prosecutor's questions, you didn't see anything in the letters or the diary about hurting herself. You didn't read everything in the letters and the diary.
My answer was that I read what I read didn't indicate that she was wanted a gun or wanted to hurt herself. That's what I read. So.
And that's fair enough. But what I'm trying to understand is based on what Detective Smith had collected, did you read 90% of what he had collected or 10% of what he had collected from your daughter's bedroom, her correspondence, her thoughts?
No, I didn't read 90% of it. No.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you, Judge.
We direct.
No, Your Honor.
All right, ma'am, you can step down, please. Roger, step. All right, and Mr. Wooten, if you can move the exhibits back up here to clear the witness stand, and if you'll call your next witness.
Theodore Young.
Yeah, they might. The prosecution might have gotten the medical records and saw that it wasn't. But as a mother, as a parent, you would know that if you went there with a stomach ache, or if you went there and she was held. The difference is extremely.
There might have been some pretrial motions based off of the medical records and the prior testimony. Because, it was dramatically different.
Yeah.
But hopefully the defense, if they can't get it on cross with other witnesses, hopefully the defense is able to establish some sort of concern that someone had for her own self-safety.
Yeah.
Wait, just come forward, Mr. Young.
This
please.
is really strange.
I don't think that's her natural hair color.
No.
It matches her lipstick too much.
So please watch your step for me coming up.
The defense counsel.
Okay, now the neighbor is here, so they just
If you
switch
can seat
places.
comfortably and pull yourself right in front of those microphones for me, please.
Go ahead, sir. Raise your right hand, please. You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter, nothing but the truth, the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Please introduce yourself to the jury.
My name is Theodore Young.
Mr. Young, in what area of Gwinnett County do you live?
South.
Do you live near Yellow River Park?
Yes.
Are you familiar with Yellow River Park?
Yes.
Why are you familiar with Yellow River Park?
I've been going over there about 20 some years.
What do you do when you go to Yellow River Park?
Oh, usually walk.
They have a walking trail there?
Yes, sir.
When do you typically walk?
Most times 6
Oh,
o'clock.
this is the one
6:30.
who found
In
her.
July of 2021, were you taking those walks in the morning?
Yes, sir.
Did you take them alone?
No,
Who did you walk?
my wife.
How long have you been married?
How long have I been married?
Yes, sir.
50 years.
And did you and your bride of 50 years go for a walk on 28th of July, 2020?
20th of July?
Is there a walk in late July where you noticed something that was not typical of every other walk?
Yes.
What was that? What was it that you noticed that was not the usual thing?
There's a body up beside the tree.
Tell me how you came to know that, how you saw it.
Well, started in the parking lot and walked towards the north end of the park. And there's something underneath the tree, so I went over to look at it. Found out it was a body laying there. And I asked the person there, "Are you okay?" No response. And that's when I called 911. And that county police come, and they took the information and told me to leave.
Did you touch the body?
No,
Did you move anything around the body?
no,
Did you take anything away from the area in which the body was found?
no,
Did you see anything on the ground around it?
no.
You know what Yellow River Park is in Gwinnett County?
Yes, it is.
Cross-examination.
You phoned the police about 6:20 a.m. Is that right?
Approximately that.
About 6:20 a.m. And how long was it before the police arrived?
Probably the matter of maybe, no less than 12 minutes, 12
Oh.
minutes, 15 minutes, something like that.
Okay, somewhere between 12 and 15 minutes.
Yes.
And after you phoned the police, did you sort of stay in that area until they arrived?
Yes, let them know about where I was located in the park. This is a pretty big sized park.
Got you. And after you phoned the police and the police indicated that they were on their way, did you ever get any closer to the body?
No,
All right. And in terms of proximity, what's the closest you would estimate that you ever came to the body?
maybe 2.5, 3 feet.
2.5 to 3 feet. Do you recall ever seeing any shell casings, the discharge from a firearm?
No,
Okay. Do you recall ever hearing any metal clinking as you sort of move towards the body?
no.
Thank you very much, Mr. Young. Thank you, Judge.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, sir, if you'll watch your step coming down, you are free to leave.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Please watch your step.
Yeah, short and concise, just as last time.
Yep.
All right, we're going to take our mid-morning recess at this point. I will refer to these as your precautionary instructions throughout the week. Remember not to discuss the case during the break. Don't do any research. Don't allow anyone to discuss the case
Wait, are they
with you
done?
or your presence. Leave your notepads and pens in the chair.
Okay, that means we can go to live. And remember, at the top of the hour, we are taking a break for the Jodi Arias trial. Because this is just a mid-morning break. But at noon, Georgia time, Eastern time, you will all be redirected to the stream about the Jodi Arias trial. Day
Yay,
13.
Jody Day.
Yeah. And we will cover that for an hour and a half, and then we will return to this trial.
Gigi has a question about, can they throw out the first trial testimony by pretrial hearings? Yes, in theory. So what I was getting at is, so say the sister testified like she did, right? In the
Mother.
first trial
Mother.
about, I'm sorry. Oh, that was the mother. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought it was a sister. Anyways, about her going to the hospital, being admitted, and concerns about self-harm. If the state wanted to, they could bring a motion in limiting and say, we don't want the defense to ask or insinuate that the victim was admitted, because here are the medical records and they clearly show she wasn't admitted. She was just there for observation and examination or something. And then the court could have made a ruling that said, yeah, I'm going to make as a finding that she was not admitted, and therefore you can't insinuate that when during the second trial. So that could have happened easily, yes. And then it would also prevent him from cross-examining this witness based off of her testimony from the prior trial with regard to that specific thing.
Yeah.
So, yep, that can happen.
Well, this was a.
Are you getting drunk during Jody? I'm going to get a beer out for Jody for sure.
Yeah, and for you who weren't here, I went out to get some beer. So Mariestad beer, a Swedish lager, because if I bought 4, I got a glass. So yeah, always nice to buy beer and get a glass. And so yeah, maybe a beer or 2, but yes, Brandon, I owe you 3 shots, and that will be during the next afternoon bit. Now we are waiting for the court to come back. They did say it was mid-morning break, didn't they?
Okay. Yeah, I thought so, but I wasn't sure. At first I was listening, I was like, are they done for the day? That's kind of what they sounded like. Now, by the way, are they sequestering this jury, or not sequestering? Are they well, I guess, yeah, are they sequestering the jury, like keeping them in a hotel and all that?
The first couple of minutes with sound, they had a question about sequestering the jury, but I don't know if it was answered, because this is it was a 3-day trial last time, and the defense attorney said it's a 3-day trial, so that indicates to me they won't do a defense case in chief this time either.
Nunya says, or is asking, she wants to know exactly where they found the car. Do we know that from the first trial at all, from what you've watched?
Yes, according to Austin's testimony, he left it in an alley somewhere in town, but they found it somewhere else, totally burnt out, about a week later. And he doesn't know how that happened, according to the only interview he did with the police.
That's why you don't talk to the police people.
Yeah.
And don't put yourself at the time, date, and location of a crime, even if you're not committing the crime. Because let's assume this guy's story is 100% the truth, right? God has come down and told us all that this is the truth, that he was there and she unalived herself. By the statements that he's made, he has placed himself at the time, date, and location of the crime.
Yeah, because even if you have cell tower that pings you in that neighborhood, you don't have to say anything.
Yep.
And Mads asked, what caused the retrial? A hung jury. Split down the middle. Yeah. So
the jury was unanimous in agreeing that he concealed evidence of a crime by taking the gun in the car, but they were hung on the underlying crime itself of murder. So
tweet is here. Yeah, I can't bring up the chats to show here in the window because StreamYard is acting up.
The last comment I have in chat is from Josie. It says, "I want this guy to defend me," and that was hours ago, I think. So
the last
that was during opening statement.
The last I have on StreamYard is Let's Go Brandon saying, Gigi, I pocket deleted something from Nanya. That's last, and that is also like an hour ago.
Oh, do we need to remove Brandon's wrench?
If Brandon did a Jeff, he pocket deleted. Yeah, but it's really interesting that the mother's testimony changed that much. All of a sudden, she remembers everything,
Yeah.
and
Well,
she didn't back in April. So, but the jury doesn't know it.
is it that interesting? Or is it that expected?
Mm.
That's the thing I don't like about retrials is it's an opportunity for the witnesses to confer with the prosecution and the prosecution to change things up.
Yeah.
And, they get a do-over and they get to, it's like if you were playing a game, right? And you didn't like the outcome and you get to change it up again. You're like, oh, well, let me move this piece here instead.
And Bass says, hello, Nick and MLS Major League Soros. No, I don't think Dave is a Soros fan at all.
Who?
Am I right?
George Soros?
Bass is saying that MLS stands for Major League Soros.
Oh.
Police figure out by his cell phone pings that he was there. Well, he was in the area, but previously he had told that he wasn't there. So they could say, well, we know you were in the area. And then is where he said, well, I was there. She ended herself. I panicked, took the gun and the car, threw the gun in the pond, parked the car somewhere, and then I went home. MLS stands for Must Love Soros. Okay, what?
It's gone dark. I don't know much about George Soros. I'm actually Googling him right now.
Waiting for Law and Crime Network.
I don't know if that's a compliment or not. I might adopt that, moniker, but I don't know yet.
Why did they put the stream down? Huh.
Is he a bad guy? What's he done?
Who?
George Soros.
Oh, he's a big shot
He's a business
Hungarian businessman who funds a lot of politicians and stuff like that. And he's a billionaire of sorts. And yeah.
Well, as long as he's not running a Ponzi scheme, we're cool with that.
Yeah. Now there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there about him, what he did or didn't do during World War II. But I think he was 13 at the end of World War II, so I doubt that he was as the one of the things that is said about him. Oh, he was a National Socialist collaborator. Yeah, but he was 8 at the start and 13 at the end, or something like that. And I highly doubt at that age in Hungary he could do very much.
Yeah, he seems to he put together some stuff in 2004 to support progressive causes. Yeah, so I don't like him for that. No. Instead of supporting progressive causes, he should just give away all of his money.
All right. I'll have the state call your next witness, please.
We are back. Yeah, but every billionaire funds politicians. That's just the way it is. But he has additional reputations. And yeah.
You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter now pending before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please introduce yourself to the jury.
Casey Smith.
How are you employed?
I work from home for a consulting company.
In July of 2021, how were you employed?
By the Gwinnett County Police Department.
At the time, what were your duties with the Gwinnett County Police Department?
I was a police officer, so I was on patrol assigned to the South Precinct.
She looks 18.
Did you wear a uniform and drive a marked vehicle?
I did.
And I guess what would be the day-to-day life of a patrol officer assigned to that precinct?
I don't like her
Show
facial.
up and get dispatched to any calls that come through the radio, respond to them, and handle them accordingly.
She looked like she's missing teeth.
Call to call from time to time?
Yep, just depending on what you get.
Did you get a call relating to Yellow River Park around 6:30 on the morning of July 28th, 2021?
I did.
What was that call?
It was an unknown medical, I believe. That's just kind of like a blanket call type for when we don't necessarily know exactly what's going on based on the information we have from who's calling in.
So do you talk directly to the person calling in, or do you talk to dispatch?
I talked to dispatch.
And I guess until certain determinations have been made, you'll get a call like unknown medical until you go there and discover what it really is.
Yes.
Were you by yourself?
That's a piercing voice.
I was not. I was a field training officer at that time, and I was training someone that was on their last phase of training. So I was actually riding along with them. They were driving.
Here's the thing. Since the prosecutor doesn't talk into the microphone and she yells into it, I can't adjust the volume.
Each phase is so many weeks long, so many shifts, and this person was on their third phase, and basically it's just kind of a monitoring, shadowing phase just to help the transition from the academy to actually being on the road as a police officer.
And so you, as a more experienced officer, would have supervising, you were the officer?
Officer Remy.
Was supervising officer Remy during her time?
Yes, I was.
I hear that.
Very much so, yes.
So it's, I guess, a working lesson for officers.
Yes, so by third phase, they're usually handling a lot of things on their own, and we're just kind of there to guide them or help them where they need.
So she was experienced enough to train others.
As needed. If something comes up that they haven't done before, then, maybe a discretion thing where I were to take the lead and then she learn from that. It's just all dependent on the call.
So you're working together as much as
Yeah, on third phase, it's essentially like a 2-man unit responding to calls instead of a single-man unit.
now, go back to this call with what did you do after the
With that and what was in, what information we had, we were prepared to show up and render aid to this person based on the information we had. We had very little information to go off of. And once we arrived, then we assessed the situation to see that it was different than as called in.
Jesus Christ, prosecutor talking to the microphone.
I can't remember if it was myself or Officer Remy, but we did have the AED with us, which is like a defibrillator in case if someone was in cardiac arrest, in case if, there was some need for that, because the information that we had, she wasn't closely accessible, I guess you could say, so we wouldn't have had time to go back to the car to get that, so we had it while we responded. I do believe it's just the main address of Yellow River Park. I just know where Yellow River Park is. I don't know the exact address. Yes. An unconscious female on her back, underneath a tree. From my experience in training, I was pretty sure that she was deceased at the time of our arrival. But since I'm not a medical professional, we called for the fire department to make that official determination just to make sure.
In your role as a parole officer, what was your job?
It was not.
Did you ever use in that area?
No.
And that's why you called the SU Fire Department?
Yes.
On your approach to
Someone needs to call the court.
Yeah, David, do you have Prosecco home?
We arrived, in addition to seeing the female laying on the ground on her back, there was a male and a female, and they were actually the two people that had called 911 and spoke with dispatch, giving us the information. And I did make contact with them, but seeing the scene, in order to secure it, just in case if there was something that needed to be treated like a crime scene, I did have them go back to the parking lot where an officer eventually met with them to get their information and their story.
But he testified he told the story at the scene and then was told to leave. And now she says she told them to go to the parking lot and a second officer. So that's a bit of a change.
I was. It was. I did. I have.
Okay, she has a body cam, so her. Now he is wearing a microphone, but that is for the hard of hearing, not for the law and crime.
I did.
No, Brandon, you still have your wrench.
From my initials and having viewed that as being my body cam footage.
is it a thumb drive that contains your body camera?
Yes, correct.
Is that footage true and accurate?
It is.
Has it been altered in any way?
No.
Your Honor, State with tender states exhibit 6.
Okay. Just in case, if they show actual crime scene photos, there might be images of the body. I will try to catch it.
I believe it was on like my lapel area.
Catch it so it won't be shown, I mean. Because law and crime can do it, I can't.
My body. Correct. I'm not sure.
Suffice it to say, are human eyes better than body?
It's possible.
Trying to start with a published part.
Does it contain audio and video? All right, I'm going to give a preliminary instruction. Members of the jury, you are about to see and hear a video and audio recording of body cam footage of Officer Smith. As you view and hear the video and audio, you may hear officers make certain statements. I caution you that the declarations or statements of the officers are not evidence, and you should not consider such statements as evidence unless such statements are proven to you by other competent evidence. You may now publish.
Oh, they are probably saying, oh, a suicide.
Starting playback.
Now, if images of her is shown, I'm going this. Or something of that sort. Because
You can always redact it later too.
Yeah, I can redact it later.
Turn up the volume, man.
So the way the body cams work is once you turn them on, it actually captures the previous 30 seconds prior to you turning it on. So the first 30 seconds have no sound, then it turns on, you hear the click, and then you'll hear sound.
Yeah, the judge's name, I'm betting that name has lost a letter at a few points.
It's mounted on your shoulder, that's why the horizon.
241 to radio? Yes. Did I ask you when they go 10-7? Our cars come from the street, the closest and easiest entrance is
Okay.
from where we walked in.
Composer C says, watch out for the giant beep.
Yeah, I see it. You guys just hang out back over here real quick? Huh? Yeah, I know. Just hang out back here in case if there's something going on, okay?
Who you're talking to there was that the older couple who had found the LA.
Yes.
And that was the point where you sent them off the scene so they could be interviewed so they wouldn't disturb the other.
Oh yeah, the walking path goes back.
Her voice is perfect for crowd control, because if she yells, get back, you have no choice.
You and Officer Remy were not the only officers in the spot.
No. Eventually there were several other officers.
Because when there is, I guess when a person has been found dead, there is a necessary larger response.
Yes. Man?
Okay.
You appear to have reached down and
Yeah.
touched.
I'm making the window a bit smaller because, yeah.
Just seeing if there was a pulse. Also, when I touched her, I could feel if she was going to be warm or cold, and she was cold.
It's weird that
There was not.
the media wasn't instructed to look away from the...
Everyone, the radio. Looks like signal 48, gonna 10-12 for FD to confirm. She's cold. All right, let's get some crime scene tape. I don't have any. Okay.
Now, you referred earlier to calling the fire department. That's what you were referring to on the radio call when you said you were going to 1012 to FD to confirm.
Yeah, 10-12 just stands for standby. (241) to 230. 241, it's going to look like some blunt force trauma to the head.
Well, that we know isn't true. Okay, so it's not a bloody crime scene at least.
Yes.
Now you speculate on the video about what may have happened to this young lady. Did you know literally anything more than what we've seen?
No.
And did you do any? Were you part of the longer investigation into her death and in any subsequent investigation?
No.
Your job was to find out what happened, secure the scene for detectives.
I'm sorry, if you could stand up and speak up. All right, it is a leading question, so I sustain. You can rephrase.
What was your role at this point?
As a patrol officer, we just arrive on scene and do an initial investigation. And with something like this, obviously more resources are called in to take control.
10-4. Can we get a unit that has crime scene tape? All right, if you guys don't mind just going back to the parking lot for me, we'll just hang out and we'll have some officers meet with you, okay? Thank you, guys. All right. So she is obviously, go ahead and turn her body camera on. No, you're good. Since she's obviously 48, what we're gonna do is we're gonna have to get their information because they were in the area of the crime scene and they found her.
Yeah, by the way, what she is doing here is actually good police work. She checked the pulse and immediately walked away from the body to save the crime scene and a potential crime scene. Which, if you remember the Murdoch trial, what they testified to, they were walking all over the place. Same in the Zachariah Anderson trial. They were walking all over the place. She steps away immediately from a potential crime scene. That is good police work. Sadly, she is no longer with the force. What do you say, David?
Sorry, I was working. Yeah, no, I'm just watching her walk all over the place. I remember the first trial, the cross-examination of the elderly man focused quite a bit on whether or not he moved or came into contact with any shell casings or anything like that, and how close he got to the body. That wasn't really discussed here, but I'm imagining that that's going to be a question for this particular witness from the defense.
Yeah, and well, he did say this time that he wasn't closer than 2 or 3 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, this will be interesting. Yeah, well, we haven't seen all of it, but as I see it, she more or less have stepped away from. She walked up, checked the pulse, backed away. At least what I.
But she is walking all over the place, and if you're going to try to maybe gather footprint evidence or other things.
Yeah.
You know, just step back, secure the scene, don't allow anybody in there, don't go back in there. It's kind of hard to tell where she's walking, though.
Here. But let's just wait. So Hoskins is gonna start setting up crime scene tape. We're gonna start out big. So she's in underwear and slides. So she's in some comfy clothes. People do come to the park too. So, but she has had to be here for a minute. Yeah.
Now, in as much as you were close enough to the body that's under what condition, based on what you can see?
The body?
Yes. What condition was she in? Was she wet? Was she dry? What did you physically see, especially when you leaned over close enough to check the pulse?
So she was in like male boxers and a t-shirt. When I touched her body was cold, but it was dry, but there was like dew on the ground. It was July. It was humid and hot. Pretty sure that it might have rained or stormed the night before, but I'm not positive. But the ground was wet, but she was dry.
Can I tell if it's blunt force or if it's a gunshot? I don't see a weapon, but the way she fell, like if she fell like this, she was standing when she fell. I think someone else had to have done this to her. Well, here you go. Last key. Good Lord.
I was trying to look at the ground.
Okay, so that was her initial reaction. Someone had to do it to her.
So it's going to be our best place to look.
But the medical examiner said something else.
you kind of made the comment on camera, but why would you look in the garbage?
I mean, at this point, it was considered a crime scene. So for initial investigation, you're just looking for anything that might be evidence. And at this point, we don't know what exactly is evidence and what's not evidence. So anything in and around the body would be looked at for possible evidence.
Did you find anything in the trash can that you thought might be possible?
No, they were almost empty.
The thing that sucks is that I think it rained last night. She's not wet though. She's dry.
But then she's also under the tree a little bit.
Yeah,
She is pretty dry.
she's cold. I can like feel it through my gloves.
You can feel it
Where's
too.
Hopkins at? There's like an opening in the gate right there. That's why.
And then somebody's parked over there too.
Okay.
Oh, look, bullet.
Casing?
Casing. Yep.
Where at? Where there? Oh, okay. Hold on.
I didn't want to touch it.
No. What are you gonna do? Piece of that. So no one steps on it. And I'm gonna put a stick through it. That's what I'm saying. Someone had to shoot her like that.
Yeah.
Because she fell straight back.
So what we witnessed was something a little actually.
So at that point, we found a piece of evidence. Crime scene's not there yet. Other people are going to be showing up. We don't want that piece of evidence to get lost. So we just put it there as a marker so everyone knows that there's something there.
And the body cam appeared to show Officer Remy in the moment in which it was noticed. Did either of you touch this body?
Not to my knowledge.
Once it was marked with a piece of paper, did you avoid being around it so as to disturb it?
Correct.
Yep. Good find. Good job. As I said, we don't want to.
I'm trying not to get too close just in case there's like footprints or so.
Yeah, we don't want to like walk around it too much. Just want to look in that trash can. Okay, using that right here, I'm gonna let them know that there's an opening right here. Oh. Hey, Lasky.
And who was last?
She was my corporal at the time, so like a senior officer.
Where's Hoskins? Okay, can someone meet with the complainant and get their 39? We have them walk away. Okay, you got crime scene tape, but you don't have, she doesn't have any. Okay, yeah, it's just the two of us right now, so she found the shell casing. Looks like she was shot sitting up because she's laying like this. She's cold and stiff, blood out of her nose, blood out of her ears, back of the head. She doesn't look wet, but she's been there for a minute, but she's 48, and it's looks like we're going to be at 27. Sorry.
All right, so a few things. A couple of times you mentioned that she's obviously 48. What's that?
So we have codes and signals. Signal 48 means person dead.
You mentioned going back to the complainant to get their 39. What is it?
Signal 39 is information.
And this is obvious. You say this is obviously a 27 or apparently a 27 for the last name of 27.
A homicide.
Is it typical for on the radio and in person?
Correct, yes.
Sorry, guys.
This is what we asked for, right?
Sir! Sir! Can you do me a favor, go back that way, please? I need you to go back that way, please. Thank you. Where that piece of paper is.
Yeah, I need to grease my chair because it's creaking like crazy.
Yeah. No ID, no gun. Check the trash cans. Nothing else really. Is Hoskins coming with the crime scene tape or not? Good morning. Well, that jinxed with the homicide call at roll call, and guess what we're on? Another one? Yeah.
Double, huh? Is it both close to the head?
That's what it looked like, but I think it's a gunshot. And she fell in the back of her head, so all the blood is through there. What?
53 maybe?
No, because the shell casing was all the way right here. It looks like she got shot. Yeah.
You tell me how to walk somewhere. I won't.
Just let me make sure to pay last real quick for them to confirm 38.
Yeah.
Or do we need?
We're just having one FD guy. We'll have the rest of them see that. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, just have him stay.
You guys are good to stay back, so you guys don't have to come in the crime scene. We just need one person to confirm that they're dead. So it looks like it's going to be a homicide. So yeah. So we just got to get. So you guys don't have to get your names put on crime scene logs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just one. He took the initiative to walk up there first, so his name's going on the list. I'm gonna go grab that real quick so I can get his name. But paperwork. Where is Hoskins? I don't have any of my stuff. I forget I'm not in my own car. Yep.
Same thing over there.
Yeah, and I think someone's parked in the parking lot, blocking off the rest of that parking lot.
Okay.
Did someone get the 39 for the? Okay, cool.
And so at this point, are you going to proceed to take off the area and allow the other officers to do their job?
Yes.
Do you take any further active participation in the investigation into the shooting?
Other than there was a couple trash cans where I was putting up crime scene tape, I took a peek in those to see if there was anything. But other than that, once it was taped off, we were just waiting on detectives to show up and crime scene to show up.
Of course, did detectives show up and did crime scene show up?
Yes, they did.
As the initial responding officer, did you stay there for that?
Yes, I did.
I stopped the video at 12 minutes and 35 second mark, and all the questions I ever stopped.
David is restarting his computer. He will be back. Or if he will prepare the Jody stream.
Sure. Yes.
Have you got married?
I have.
So let's call you by your right name. Give it to me.
I'll spell it. Krizbai. Krizbai.
Krizbai. Okay, that's easy enough. It's Krizbai. Before the prosecutor shut off the video, I thought it said 10, 50, 42. That's like sometimes the time for the body cams aren't correct. Is that fair to say?
I'm not aware.
Okay, I guess so. Maybe this is a better question. Did you confirm that the time that was showing on your body cam was the correct time?
I would assume so.
Okay, so you recall arriving about what time?
I don't know exact time. I know that it was early in the morning. The dew was still on the ground, and the sun had just started coming up, I believe.
Okay, so if I would have told you that it may have been about 6:30 a.m., does that sound about the right time?
That sounds about right.
The sun hadn't risen enough July of 2021 to have burned the dew off the healthy grass. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay, and I have some questions about that. In terms of where the body was located underneath the tree. Is that right?
Yes.
No grass was underneath the tree. Is that right?
Correct.
All right. Were you able to see any footprints headed towards or away from the tree in the grass that still had dew on it?
Not that I noticed.
All right. Was the roadway wet when you still came in the first arrived?
The roadway outside of Yellow River Park?
Yes.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. And Officer Remy, the first officer,
We were.
were you in the same vehicle or different vehicle?
We were in the same vehicle.
And I got the sense, not when the video turned off, but when you first arrived, that the sun was just coming up. Is that fair to say?
Yes, it was still fairly early.
Just coming up. Okay. When did you leave the police?
September of 2021.
Okay, about 2 months after this body cam. Is that right?
Yes.
As of July 2021, how long have you been an officer?
I graduated from the academy in April of 2019, so 3 years.
About 2019 to 2021.
That's about 2 years.
2 years. I got you. That's fine. We'll work it out. And was this the precinct that you were assigned to where Yellow River is located?
Yes.
Okay. Yellow River Park is located close to DeKalb County. Is that right?
It is.
Okay. So here's the real question: is all of Yellow River Park located in Gwinnett County?
That I'm not completely positive of.
On the body cam, it appears that Officer Remy is the first person that locates any shell casings. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. And do you recall approximately between you and Officer Remy the total number of shell casings that were located?
Between me and Officer Remy, only the one, I believe.
Only the one. And fair to say you didn't touch any of the shell casings. Is that right?
I did not.
You only touched the body to the extent that you need to determine the total temperature of the body. Is that fair to say?
Correct.
Okay. We'll see how this works now.
Wrist area. Is that fair to say?
The wrist, yes.
Wrist. Thank you very much, Ms. Chris.
Chris, bye.
Chris, bye. Thank you. Thanks.
That was issue. Oh.
That was so bad of volume or like sound.
Yeah.
But the time shows T1038. Is that necessarily the actual daylight time that is?
I'm sure.
You know what?
If the sun just rose, then it can't be 10:38 a.m.
The call come in
July.
Yes.
Is that when you respond?
Yes.
I guess how would you describe the lighting conditions, the position of the sun as this film is showing?
It's still fairly early in the morning, close to dawn-ish time.
And defense counsel asked about the condition of the roadway. Is the roadway shown in this still?
It is.
I guess how would you describe it?
It's partially wet, partially dry.
When you were assigned to this particular precinct, did they instruct you, or were you instructed on the boundaries of your precinct?
Yes.
Do they include the portion of Yellow River Park where Tory Lang crosses?
Yes.
Was Tory Lang in fact found in?
She was.
No further questions.
about how long that witness? Fairly quick. All right, call your next witness.
Fairly quick. Okay. Yeah, they should be going on lunch pretty soon.
What was the cross of this witness? Was there none?
Just about is the time correct on the body cam? Did you find her and the other officer only found one shell casing? That's about it. Was
We
it
did ask
humid?
about the shell casing then.
Yeah. And they only found one, which would indicate that the shell casings are quite a bit apart, which is weird.
There are multiple shell casings?
They found 2 shell casings
Mm.
in total.
So quiet. This is stupid.
Since 2012.
What court is this?
I am a sergeant.
This is Gwyneth County, I believe.
I was a corporal at South Precinct. So I would respond to dispatched calls. I would assist younger officers in mentorship. I would train.
What's the name of this judge?
Out of the academy as a field training officer. And if a supervisor was not at work, I would fill in as the acting sergeant.
Gwinnett County, yeah. Court is at full volume, but I can drop our
Yes, sir. That
more.
day I was acting as the acting sergeant.
And what was that call?
There was a homicide call at Yellerford Park.
Did you respond to this case?
Yes.
What did you do when you got there?
First, I went and got the information from the original officers that had arrived on scene, and then I started making phone calls after getting the information from them. Contacted CSI, medical examiner, and homicide.
Go on the scene yourself?
Yes. We allowed one firefighter to come onto the scene. He confirmed that the victim was in fact deceased. We relayed that information to radio, and then once I had spoken to
Moomin Troll.
detectives, they were requesting photographs. So we can't take photographs. I did. So originally, prior to my arrival, one of the officers had located one spent shell casing, and that was already on the ground. It had been marked with a piece of notepad paper, white paper. As I was photographing the scene and the body to send those photos to the detective, I located a second spent shell casing.
And what did you do when you located it?
I photographed it and documented it through body cam and photographs to the detective.
You also documented it?
I believe I did, yes, sir.
Were you wearing a department issue body?
Yes, sir.
Were you trained in how to operate it?
Yes,
Was it actually working and on?
it was.
Have you used the footage from that body?
I did.
Okay, we will go for a few more minutes before we go over to
That is the body.
the Jodi Aris stream.
I called the court and let them know.
Mm.
Hopefully they get to somebody.
It was reviewed and then marked.
Prosecution hates microphones.
Yes.
Everything is so quiet, even the witness.
Mm.
Oh yeah, we could definitely hear your chair. I see people in the chat talking about it.
Yeah, I know. I will grease it up in between streams.
Body cam footage of this witness. As you view and hear the audio and video, you may see and hear officers make certain statements. I caution you that the declarations or statements of the officers are not evidence, and you should not consider such statements as evidence unless they are proven to you by other competent.
Okay, I think it's about between 5 and 10 minutes of video footage. So maybe we should let David go over to and start the Yodi stream, and we will wrap it up here for the and then continue after the Yodi stream. Yeah,
Sounds good.
Yeah, so far this is well the
It's an interesting case. I wish I could hear it. That's my thought.
Yeah, the prosecution is doing smoother this time around compared to the first day of trial we watched yesterday. The mother's testimony is vastly different, but the jury doesn't know that.
Nope.
And so it's not much we can do about it, and we can't tell anybody. Yes,
No,
Chili melted the lubricant out of the chair. Yes, in Friday stream. I can't bring that up because it's not even starred on my StreamYard.
What's that?
StreamYard is really forking up because it is more or less frozen at 75 viewers, and it doesn't show any super chats or member chats or anything.
Yeah, that's really bad because you have way more than that, and the
Yeah.
chat's going, asking questions and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
I don't know. Hopefully the Jody stream goes better. I'm gonna jump off and get that going. I'll see you guys
Yeah.
all over there.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you guys. Yeah. See you later. See you in a bit, David. Yeah, I know my chair is creaking like crazy, but that's I got this chair about a month and a half ago, and yeah, it's not a good chair. It shouldn't be starting to creak this early. I'm going to when I end the broadcast, you will all be, or most of you at least, will be brought over to the Jody stream. It's on both mine and David's channel, and we are doing an hour and a half, and then we will go back to this trial, where we continue to watch that, the last of this morning's trial, and then we skip lunch and move directly to the afternoon. Yeah, no, creaky chairs don't work well with streaming, and if I don't get it to work in between streams, then I will just get one of the kitchen chairs and sit on that for the rest of the day. Okay, but yes, what's most infuriating is knowing that the mother's testimony changed this much and the jury doesn't. That's kind of a big deal, because this might be the change in direction of the prosecution's case that they missed out on, and which caused the mistrial, the hung jury. Because if the defense cannot bring anything in that suggests that Tory had some self-ending or self-hurting things, then all of a sudden this trial will change in demeanor a bit. But more about that in an hour and a half. If you don't want to watch Jody, but I suggest you do, afternoon's stream is or you can wait there, or you can go get a bite to eat or something to drink, But as for now, I'll see you in a bit in the Jodi Aries trial. All right. See you in a bit. And there. See you in a bit.